LA and the Alameda Corridor near downtown LA and allow for transporting cargo directly from the port by rail.
By getting containers onto rail faster, we achieve quicker throughput at our facilities, and it's a key part of our competitive advantage as we compete with an expanded Panama Canal.
This project will create about 2,000 construction jobs and is estimated to generate $1 billion in annual state revenues by 2030. This rail yard, officials say, will help move cargo more safely and efficiently, reduce traffic on roads and highways, and improve air quality.
It will also result in 2,300 fewer annual truck trips and nearly 600,000 tons of emission reductions over the next 20 years.
The project also opens up space at one of the port terminals by eliminating traffic.
It will allow us to move more of the cargo directly from the port on rail. It's going to facilitate the efficiency of our port customers that are all located in this part of Wilmington. It's going to provide on-dock rail access to the one remaining terminal in Los Angeles that doesn't have it.
The West Basin Rail Yard is anticipated to be completed by the summer of 2014. From San Pedro, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Officials say the freeways to most benefit from the rail yard in terms of reduced truck traffic are the 710 and 110 freeways. It's an improvement that residents over several generations have waited for more than 80 years. We take you to the public St. Andrew Stairway, where things are looking a lot brighter these days.
These stairs are very important in these neighborhoods for those of you who don't live here. It's one of the distinctions of our neighborhoods, and it's nice to see that we're taking them back for the use they were intended for, which is for the neighbors to come and enjoy them, and the lighting will help with some of the bad elements that we've had issues with.
And the lighting is why all these Los Feliz residents are gathered around St. Andrew's Stairway. While the public stairway, which let residents access the old red cars, have been around since the 1920s, the lights to illuminate the long walk up and down have only now been installed in the year 2013.
Our motto in Bureau of Street Lighting is bright lights, safe nights. And I think these lights are going to bring safety to the neighborhood.
While the 5 newly installed LED lights turn on automatically when it gets dark, they were ceremoniously turned on by Councilman Tom LaBonge for the special unveiling.
It's so important to walk our public stairs. I know in Silver Lake, as well as in Echo Park, it's a whole troop of people who walk, and when we reclaim it, it's so important to do that.
We really think this is going to make a big difference in the community. We were having a lot of issues here, and I think that this is going to make a huge change.
It is believed that plans to install lighting decades ago were thwarted by the Great Crash of 1929. But now in 2013, residents are proclaiming, "Let there be light," and reclaiming their public stairway so that anyone who wishes to climb these steps can do so under the warm gaze of these long-awaited streetlights.
Each year, entrepreneurs create thousands of jobs in Los Angeles, and their companies bring in billions of dollars in revenue. That's why Mayor Villaraigosa recently helped kick off a search in hopes of finding the next crop of LA's top job creators. Here's Anita Bennett.
Business and city leaders joined forces at City Hall to announce the start of Ernst & Young's annual Entrepreneur of the Year program.
It's a program that is set to really honor those entrepreneurs who are creating the jobs in our community and building the businesses of the future. It's really what drives our economy as we go forward.
This is the 27th year the global firm has honored individuals in the LA area for building and leading successful companies. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa helped kick off this year's search.
I think it is important in the small business capital of the United States of America, and that is what we are. We want to acknowledge the best among that entrepreneurial community.
Several past recipients stopped by, including the founder of website bestcovery.com.
This is an amazing program because they have a lot of great candidates that come through it, and all of them are super successful. So to be selected from that group of people was really an amazing experience.
Now the search is on to find this year's top innovators who are worthy of being singled out. The 7 winners will be announced in June, and then they'll move on to compete for a national prize that will be handed out in Palm Springs later this year. At City Hall, I'm Anita Bennett for LA This Week.
Ernst & Young holds regional competitions across the country before naming its national winners. Landing a contract with the City of Los Angeles, that can be a big boost for small businesses, but getting that contract can be difficult. Rasha Goel explains how city leaders are helping local minority-owned businesses compete with the big dogs.
Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa recently signed Executive Directive 27, creating the Office of Contractor Relations to help even the playing field for small and minority-owned businesses when it comes to the city's contracting process.
We want to create a permanent structure to provide policy guidance and formal monitoring. We do it by creating the Office of Contractor Relations.
The work that he has done and is doing today ensures that businesses like mine and like others around this room are heard when there are concerns.
The Office of Contractor Relations will help ensure that all businesses, including minority, veteran, and women-owned businesses, get a fair chance at bidding for city contracts when up against larger companies with more resources.
This opportunity for small businesses to purchase, to have a go-to place, location at City Hall, to answer their questions and find out about contracts and make sure that their needs are being met is really important.
Small business owners and advocates are excited about the new office and feel they can provide services at a competitive level.
As we have served honorably on the battlefield, we bring the same level of commitment to our business, to the veteran community by hiring veterans, and bring unsurpassed level of customer care and loyalty to our clients.
With the doors now open, small businesses are one step closer to contributing their talent in a more competitive market. From Los Angeles, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
The Office of Contractor Relations will be part of the mayor's Economic and Business Policy Office. LA is about to take a giant step forward into the digital age as the city names a new general manager for its information technology agency. Our own Channel 35 falls under that umbrella. Anna Marcos takes a look at what his appointment means for LA's cyber readiness.
Imagine LA as the smart, high-tech digital city of the future, with an updated state-of-the-art website, mobile apps for city services, and maybe even free citywide Wi-Fi. Sound like the stuff of cyber dreams? Well, it was all on the table as the City Council approved a new general manager for ITA, the city's information technology agency. Stephen Reneker will oversee everything from our own Channel 35 to the city's computer systems, its 311 call center, and other high-tech communications.
Creating a digital city initiative is something that is long overdue here in the city of Los Angeles. We can't even talk to departments like email, where you've got LAPD is still on an antiquated group mail system, where the rest of the city's on a Google system.
What do you see as a priority coming in?
Reneker promised a 21st century upgrade to the system in spite of the budget crunch.
I understand that the ITA with the budget issues is going through some serious times, and certainly the things that I would focus on, obviously taking a look at maintenance contracts, making some cuts there, making the city more technology responsible from the standpoint of the website and potentially mobile apps, and giving our citizens here, our Angelinos, the capability to not stand in line but go online for their services.
Council members asked about free citywide Wi-Fi. Reneker's response, too expensive. Something that is doable, extending 311 call center hours, automating the 311 system, and providing new mobile apps for services. Reneker, a former chief information officer in Riverside County, was named one of Government Technology's 25 doers, drivers, and dreamers of 2012. The hope is he will do, drive, and dream LA into the most high-tech cyber capital anywhere. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Reneker says during his first 90 days, he will take an inventory of all information systems and target any operational inefficiencies that will help cut down on costs. It was Destination Los Angeles for many in 2012, celebrating Korean American Day, and a complete overhaul of the city's dilapidated streets will have to wait a little longer. These stories and more in City Beat.
The Los Angeles Tourism and Convention Board announced that a record 41.4 million people traveled to Los Angeles last year for work or play. That's a 2.5% increase over the previous record year in 2011. Domestic travelers accounted for 35.3 million visitors, while international travelers accounted for 6 million tourists, most of them from China. As a result of the boost in tourism, hotels generated $180 million in tax revenues for the city. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa said in a statement that with the tourism industry supporting 1 in 10 jobs, the revenues that come from its success go directly to the city services Angelenos rely on. Joining the U.S. Congress and many other states, the Los Angeles City Council celebrated Korean American Day in the city of Los Angeles. Councilmember Tom LaBonge recalls the early struggles of many Korean immigrants who opened businesses in South Los Angeles.
When you look at our city of diversity, you realize that at Jefferson in Vermont, Mr. Parks, was the first Korean American grocery store many, many years ago. And then as they came and many institutions were formed, up Vermont Avenue they went and dominated the Olympic Boulevard corridor.
Today, the contributions of Korean Americans in Los Angeles can be seen in many aspects of daily life, including the banks that have opened, the garment and fashion industry, and the faith community that drives much of the community's volunteerism. The City Council also voted to approve to accept a donation to the City of Los Angeles of a $32,000 bronze sculpture of Lebanese author and poet Khalil Gibran. The sculpture is seen here in a miniature replica. Published in 1923, his most notable work in English is The Prophet, which includes 26 poetic essays which have never been out of print and have been translated to more than 40 languages.
How commendable and admirable that the City of Angels, and a compliment to your vision as the City Fathers, to dedicate a memorial to this great human being to enrich and expand the cultural diversity of our great city.
Gibran was born in 1883, lived most of his life in the United States, and died in 1931 in New York City. The City Council has dropped plans to put a $3 billion street repair bond measure on the May 21st ballot in order to give the proposal more time for consideration by all Los Angeles stakeholders. The $3 billion bond measure would have aimed to repair and rebuild over a 10-year period all the city's dilapidated streets. It is estimated that poorly maintained Los Angeles streets cost vehicle owners about $750 in additional maintenance every year.
The opening of a new French restaurant in downtown becomes the latest milestone in the Bringing Back Broadway plan. Gil Reyes has a table reserved at Figaro.
3, 2, 1, 0.
And with that, the city of LA officially welcomes downtown's newest bistro.
Amazing food, amazing people, and definitely you're going to enjoy the place.
The Figaro Bistro at 618 South Broadway now delivers its brand of Parisian pastries and other French flavors to downtown. The first floor has 9,000 square feet for dining and a bakery. The mezzanine could feature live music one day. Plans are still in the works. With the original Figaro in Los Feliz Village a big hit with the locals, this family-owned business opens its second bistro near the increasingly bright lights of Broadway.
We started an initiative called Bringing Back Broadway 5 years ago, where we wanted to revitalize this beautiful historic corridor. There's some beautiful buildings here with great architecture, a lot of space, but this area was in decline. It was open during the day with some shoppers, but at nighttime it just closed for business. We're bringing it back to life. We've already have many restaurants that open. Umami Katessen, Two Boots Pizza, the LA Brewing Company. We have also many of our historic theaters that are now opening up as well, revitalizing themselves, like the Orpheum, the Los Angeles Theater, and the United Artists Theater that will now open up as a boutique hotel. We are very excited about what's happening here on Broadway, and it goes hand in glove with the revitalization that we're seeing throughout downtown Los Angeles.
Not to mention the return of the downtown streetcar along this corridor, which voters approved in December. That streetcar could be up and running in 2016. As for Figaro Bistro, it is open now 7 days a week for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. In downtown LA, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Figaro Bistro takes over the space once occupied by Shaber Cafeteria, which was severely damaged during the 1992 LA riots. In this week's list of things to do, help is needed to prune roses in the Valley's parks, a year of healthy living, and Brahms' Requiem at the Disney Concert Hall.
The Southern California Garden Club, in partnership with the San Fernando Valley Rose Society and the West Valley Garden Club, is calling on volunteers to help prune roses in their local parks. There are nearly 600 rose bushes at Orcutt Ranch and over 300 at Homestead Acre, Chatsworth Park South, that need pruning. You can help on Saturday, January 26th from 9 a.m. to noon at Homestead Acre, Chatsworth Park South, located at 10835 Shadow Oak Drive in Chatsworth. A short pruning tutorial will be provided and refreshments will be served. Bring clippers and gloves if you have them. You can call 818-363-5925 for additional information. Councilmember Mitchell Englander's office is kicking off a new initiative, the CD12 Year of Healthy Living. That means every month, Council District 12 will hold a community activity or event like a hike or bike ride meant to offer families in the community a fun way to get healthy. And on Saturday, January 26th from 9 a.m. to noon, the event will be a health expo held at the North Valley Family YMCA at 11336 Corbin Avenue in Porter Ranch. There will be doctors and pharmacists on hand to provide free consultation and booths with information about healthcare services and resources, as well as live entertainment, healthy recipe ideas, and free snacks. For more information about the expo, call 818-368-3232. It's Brahms' longest composition, the Brahms Requiem, and the Walt Disney Concert Hall is presenting this true masterpiece at a concert held on Saturday, January 26th at 2 p.m. The Brahms Requiem swells with lush romantic sounds that will sweep you away in the acoustics of Disney Hall. The Disney Concert Hall is located downtown at 111 South Grand Avenue. There will also be a Listen Up pre-concert discussion at 1 p.m. There will also be another concert the next day in the evening. For more information or for tickets, go to lamc.org. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do.
Hundreds upon hundreds of Angelenos gathered in one place on a recent Tuesday evening to bid farewell to a man they had come to know on their television screen, a man who helped them explore California's hidden and diverse treasures. Rasha Goel brings us this remembrance of the late Huell Howser.
This is going to be a real treat. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
We're getting ready to have an absolutely wonderful day.
His voice and his passion were trademarks that touched the hearts of many. In today's often cynical world, Huell Howser, many would say, was a breath of fresh air. To pay their respects, hundreds of Huell Howser fans gathered at the Griffith Observatory to celebrate the life of the television host who became a household name.
We went everywhere in the state to bring California to us. A big hand to the memory of Huell Howser.
I've always watched his shows growing up as a kid. He feels like an uncle who just passed away.
Howser hosted travel shows on public television and was most known for California's Gold, which featured a side of California not even many locals knew about. He introduced viewers to small towns, odd landmarks, and down-home people.
But you never did feel any of John Muir's vibes in here.
Well, yes and no. When I was real tired, sometimes I used to think, what would John Muir think about this house if he could come back?
And it was so wonderful to watch him on television and have him show the kind of admiration for these places and for people.
Huell Howser passed away at the age of 67 after battling cancer. He's mostly remembered for his warm personality and folksy Tennessee drawl.
So you have, what, trail rides? Organizations can come out here and just ride the ranch?
He really came through on his show that he just really took an interest in people. So that's something we'll really miss seeing.
That must have been an amazing experience.
Councilmember Tom LaBonge arranged this sunset tribute for Howser so that his fans would be able to come together to celebrate his legacy. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Howser donated his videotaped collection of California's Gold episodes, as well as those of his other series, to Chapman University. That's going to do it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ellen Chang. A reminder that you could catch us online at lecityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We leave you now with some more fond remembrances from fans of Huell Howser who attended the Sunset Tribute. See you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
I can't tell you how much this visit this morning has meant to hear these stories in your words.
He is a landmark for California, and I'm going to miss him.
He turned a lot of people on to places that were right under our noses and we didn't know existed. My friends and I would find or rediscover California because of Huell Howser. We were all natives, but I think even though he wasn't born here, he was more of a native son even than we were.
This has been a wonderful day spent in this wonderful historic place here in Northern California, this John Muir home.
I've gone on vacations because of him, and I've seen places that I've never thought existed.
Well, here we are in Yosemite National Park, and this is going to be one of the most exciting days thing you see out here all the way around.
Every day, our brave troops and their families stand up for us.
For years, we've asked so much of so few.
Now we have a chance to serve these heroes.
To give time, offer comfort, or lend a hand.
To ease the burden on a military family.
Let's honor their service by volunteering ours.
Hi, I'm Nina. This is my daughter Miranda, and we live in Silver Lake. We love the cultural diversity of Los Angeles. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Good morning. It is January 22nd. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council meeting. My name is Herb Wesson. I'll be today's presiding officer. The City Council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. If we could please have some quiet in the room. Madam Clerk, I do believe we have a quorum. Could you please call the roll?
Alarcon, Buscaino, Englander, Garcetti, Weezer, Caress, Gregorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Zion, Weston, 11 members present, a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Rosendahl moves, Mr. Zion seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Koretz moves and Mr. Weezer seconds.
Mr. President, today is Tuesday, and now would be the time for the flag salute.
Okay, if I could ask everyone in the council chambers to please rise. Mr. Rosendahl, are you up to leading us in the flag salute?
Not easy, but it's worth it because I was so proud of yesterday and our president and our country. So let's put our right hand over our hearts, say after me, I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. President, it's a personal privilege.
Oh, yeah, this is a request you do not have to make. I was going to call on you to see if you had an early announcement or something for this body, but I did in fact think about you almost all day yesterday, and hopefully the president has made you so happy that you'll cut him a little slack in the future. But anyway.
You know, it's funny he says that because I was an early supporter of him when he first ran. And then I was totally disillusioned because I'm an old man and I'm a super progressive and I'm tired of things not moving in the right direction. But yesterday, when I'm lying there in my bed because I'm, going through this cancer business, he talks about Stonewall. I said, whoa. I mean, that's a bar I used to go to, folks, in New York where they beat the hell out of us gay people because we're subhumans, And then a little later, he talks about equality and talked about gays and lesbians having equality. It's the first time a president of the United States finally recognized us as human beings. And many of you know, my partner and I have signed the statewide agreement that if we get that opportunity, he'll be able to get the benefits and Social Security and hospital benefits and all that straight people take for granted. So it was a great moment for the African Americans, the Latinos, the women, and the gay people, the real people who run this country. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Rosendahl, it was a great day for America, for the United States of America. And I have to admit that I had a tear or two of joy. Okay, with that said, Madam Clerk, why don't we go through the agenda?
Item 1, our leading notice for public hearing. The Department of Building and Safety reports that items F, H, and I may be received and filed inasmuch as the liens have been paid.
Okay, so without objection on those items, do we have any cards on the others?
Yes, there's cards.
Okay, so let's move to the next section.
Items 2 through 21 are items for which public hearings have been held. There is a request by member to continue item 4 to January 30th.
Okay, without objection, that'll be the order. Okay, members' specials on items 2 through 21, members' specials. Mr. Labange?
I just wanted to announce that it is the Sunny Nook Lewis McAdams Riverwalk. The park is named Sunny Nook, but we're going to name the Riverwalk after Lewis McAdams. Just ask for an aye vote.
Okay, so now on those items, can we open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote?
11 ayes.
Okay, let's move then to the next section. I believe that's 22 through 27.
Items 22 through 27 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before us. Do we have any cards?
Cards on items 22, 23, 25, 26, and 27.
Okay, members, Ms. Perry? 27. Okay, is there anything left to vote on this?
Item 24.
Okay, then Mr. Weezer.
Yeah, is there cards on 28 and 29? Oh, we're not there.
We haven't gotten there yet. Okay, so let's vote on item 24, Madam Clerk, it is? Okay, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, let's go to the supplemental agenda.
On the supplemental agenda, items 28 and 29 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items will be before us, and it's my guess we have cards on those items?
Cards on item 29.
Okay. Mr. Weezer.
Number 28, or I just would like to record a no vote on that if there is no other discussion on it. I'd like to call it special.
Okay, so then let's just hold both items, okay? So we'll hold 28 and 29. So that brings us to either general public comment or presentations, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. Parks, are you ready with your presentation? So at this point in time, I'd like to turn it over to Councilmember Parks, who's honoring the Southern California Falcons.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask Mr. Johnson and all of the staff and ball players from the Southern California Falcons to come up here. And Mrs. Johnson. We're going to be joined by Ms. Perry in just a second. Get over. Come on up. Thank you very much. Today we're here to honor the Southern California Falcons, the midget division. We're recognizing them. They're young men at the ages of 13 to 15, and they earned a record 10 wins this year, no losses, and they went on to win the Los Angeles Championship with a 12-1 overall record. The team is the midget division of the Southern California Falcons. The team has won each game by an average of 25 points, and their first year is in the National Pop Warner League. This team won the Los Angeles County Pop Warner Championship title. After the championship, the team beat the Colorado River champions and the Orange Empire champions. The team also participated in the Falcons Men in Training program, where they are mentored by their staff and the Falcons coaches. Keith Johnson and his wife, Kara Provo Johnson, are the founders of the Falcon Youth and Family Services, proclaim teaching new school children old school values is their motto. Turning out educated kids who can be a credit to their community is a big part of what the Falcon program is about. Keith himself has been working with the youth for over 20 years. His own upbringing in the foster care system and strong faith seems to have made him certain that he has a calling to help youth from troubled neighborhoods find a healthy pathway forward. To that end, he teaches classes to foster parents dealing with challenges and needs foster youth present and how to overcome them in the ways that are beneficial to both the child and the family. He also has found a way to use sports, health, as entry points through which he can practice empowerment of black youth. Let me ask Ms. Perry.
So he became a football coach many years ago when he felt that his own son's coach was not upholding the values he expected in a role model. It wasn't until 2005 when Snoop Lion launched a league for youth that Keith and his wife took on the responsibility of managing an entire football program. After being told that Snoop Lion was interested in having a full roster of teams, Keith pulled together 6 teams in a month's time Getting the coaches lined up was a lot tougher. And after 3 years of building their foundation as a program in the league, the Falcons were able to leave and become part of the Valley Conference. They finally joined Pop Warner this past year because they wanted to be part of a league where a team could have the chance to play in a national championship. Both Keith and his wife looked at the potential of playing a championship game as more than just a chance for young people to reach a higher standard, but to be rewarded for hard work. It was also a great opportunity for them to travel outside of South Los Angeles and to experience new places, new ways of life, new opportunities. So today, I'm very proud to join with Mr. Parks to commend and congratulate these young men, along with the Falcons staff and volunteers, for all of their accomplishments, both on and off the field, and extend best wishes for continued success in all of their endeavors, and to Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, who started it all.
Step up here, we're going to say something. We'd also like to acknowledge that each one of the members of the teams have received their certificates. So if you hold them up, show the audience your certificates for your accomplishments. And then we have you're going to start off, Ms. Johnson? Oh, Mr. Johnson. Let him speak first. Okay.
First Let's give the young people a round of applause before we...
We would like to quickly thank Councilman Bernard Parks, Councilwoman Jan Perry for inviting us and for really acknowledging young men, hard work, energy and effort, the sacrifice that they made. We thank all of our coaches and our parents for their commitment to our organization. And finally, we also have to thank Councilman Herb Wesson. Of the three council people in our area, Bernard Parks, Jan Perry, and Councilman Herb Wesson does a wonderful job in supporting us. We could not do what we do without the support of the city, particularly without the support of you three individuals. And so we want to thank you so very much. And this is an honor and a privilege to bring our young people here and to be acknowledged publicly. So we thank you so very much.
Thank you.
You don't want to say anything? Come on, don't be shy.
I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I love these boys.
And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know Mr. Parks was a youth coach years ago and helped produce a quarterback that's in the Hall of Fame, Warren Moon. Wow. And I coached for 13 years in Pop Warner myself, so I know what the impact that it could have on these young men. So I really thank all of the coaches, all of the parents. But I know what it's like to be a coach, to be up all night and making phone calls and drafting plays and make sure you have enough money and the snack bar needs to be all. I know what you do. Then you got to chalk the field and then you have to get people to work the lines crew. So it is more than a notion. So I have the utmost respect for you and congratulations. And I'm hopeful that your future will be very bright. So anyway, give them another round of applause. They deserve it.
You have your purse? Yes. Okay.
Madam Clerk, we do have 12 members. So there are, I believe at this time, 3 of the ordinances that we can vote on. That's items 3, 5, and 6, correct?
Yes, for reconsideration.
Okay, so let's vote for reconsideration on those 3 items. So let's open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now let's actually vote on the items. Let us open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay.
With on 7, it's a contract for...
Forthwith on 7 per Mr. Labange. Okay, we'll go to item 1. And I have a card from Mr. Walsh, John Walsh, HollywoodHighland.org.
John Walsh, for identification purposes only, anybody but Garcetti Committee and the newest committee.
Come on, let's stay on the item.
Well, this is for identification
Item
purposes.
Item one does
So he
not have
heckles
anything
me. He
to
heckles
do.
me. See how he heckles me?
I don't. I love you.
You spent 3 minutes talking about an issue that wasn't on
Mr. Walsh, this is on item 1. Speak on item 1.
Ooh, he raised his voice at me.
No, I just need to get your attention
All I
every
know is
now
that
and
Ms.
again.
Rosendahl did not had his speech.
Is this item 1?
HollywoodHighlands.org. Remember, that's what happens here.
Okay. No, relax. Okay, now we're going to vote on item 1. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay. Now let's... Mr. Sachs, I didn't have a card on for item 1. On the next one I have... We didn't have one on item 1. On item 2, I will call you if we can see if you can find his card. We'll now go to item 25. Mr. Walsh and Dial House Dude.
John Walsh, for identification purposes only, anybody but Garcetti for mayor. This is another reward offer. And you know, you people out there, for 4 years, this is what I'm asking. A report from the city on how many rewards you've offered, how many are outstanding, how many people have collected the rewards, and how many people are in jail because of the rewards, because they were convicted. Is that asking for too much? No, no. On the rest of my speech, I will get off topic and talk about the inaugural speech of the president. That seems to be on target. I want a death of David Estrada Morales, yes. 50,000. Why isn't 75,000? I want a report, and you asked for a report, and there's never been a report on these reward offers. We ask for them. HollywoodHighlands.org, or go to the front page online.
Thank you, Mr. Dude. Mr. Dude.
Mr. President, Mr. Walsh is continuing to talk and disrupt the meeting as he's walking away.
Okay, I have confidence that he will quiet down. Mr. Dude.
I know we need to reward people so they come out and tell us who the killer was. But I would rather reward people when they're alive, you know. Get them a home. Get everybody a home. And maybe we'll drop
Stay on the
rate.
topic. This is regarding a reward.
I know.
It is not regarding housing.
No, this is on topic because it's designed to reduce the crime rate so we don't kill each other for the things we need. We all need a place to live. And if we have a better society, we don't need to go around killing each other and offering rewards for one another. You know what I mean? Okay? Remember when they crucified Christ, they gave a reward. And it's still happening. It's been quite a while. And we're still giving rewards. Well, don't reward the criminals by offering more rewards. Reward the people that are good. Give them all a home.
Okay, so Mr. Labange.
And all this is done at the request of the detectives of the Los Angeles Police Department, wherever this incident occurs. And let's always think of the victims and the tragedies that happen to their families. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Madam Clerk, could we open the roll? Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, now we're going to go to item 26, called Special by Cards. I have John Walsh, HollywoodHighland.org, and Mr. Dowhouse Dude. Mr. Walsh passes. Mr. Dude? This is item 26. You signed up to speak on it? Okay, Mr. Dude passes. So let's prepare to vote on this item. Let us open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay. Okay, now, Madam Clerk, we're going to move to item 27. Mr. City Attorney, I've got like 14, 15 cards. I'm going to give the public speakers each 1 minute. And we will start off with Arnold Sachs, Donna Pearman, and William Ernest. Please come forward. You can come forward and just, if I called your name, just identify yourself.
I'm William Shuttleworth. The proposed 100 megawatt will make about 100 million kilowatt hours a year, assuming 17%. Extra 10 cents per kilowatt hour on 150 million kilowatt hours is $300 million over the 20 years. Ratepayer, aka pile of money, pays. Meanwhile, 15 cents a kilowatt hour and 50 million kilowatt hours a year makes about a 4.5% return on the 500 million. Utilization below 11% means a 30% return, insufficient for property taxes, insurance, OEM. Junk man appears, so you end up with no power. Aggregate cost of all this renewable energy spending may be $32 billion, $10,000 per person. Looks like a plan to destroy the Los Angeles economy, air quality, and electricity supply.
Thank you. Mr. Sachs, followed by Ms. Pearman, followed by Thaddeus Skiles. Mr. Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Arnold Sachs. My concerns about this feed-in tariff program have to do more or less with what Councilman Krikorian discussed a couple of weeks ago, back in December, when you were talking about Southern California Edison and the San Onofrio power plant, and the fact that it's been put out of action because of the problems with the nuclear reactors, and the fact that DWP is going to be buying this energy from the public. How much of the energy will they be reselling to Southern California Edison to make up for the loss that Southern California Edison needs to make up for because they don't have that power plant in use? And how much will they be selling that electricity for to Southern California Edison to help make up that loss? Why that isn't in the open? And by the way, where's Mr. Pickle?
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Pearman, followed by Thaddeus Skiles, followed by Jim Janal, I believe it is.
Yeah, this is Donna. You gave us a ratepayer advocate, but he's against this proposal, so why don't you listen to your ratepayer advocate, or do you only listen to the DWP against the interests of the ratepayer? So the DWP proposed 100 kW system will cost someone 100 million USD. Worse, the LA DWP FIT pilot will not have significant generation until 2015, so why the rush? So perhaps there's a fear that the FIT contractor may walk away with powers produced. The aggravated case of all this renewable energy may be $32 billion USD, $10,000 per resident. All this looks like a scheme to destroy Los Angeles economy, air quality, and electricity supply. This windmills don't work, solar is limited, and renewable energy is a catchphrase for the politicians to be elected. Study to it and listen to the ratepayer advocate. To get to the ideas of the ratepayer advocate, and he knows what's going on, not to just your own self-interest.
Thank you, Mr. Skiles, Jim, Janelle, and Cecilia. Cecilia, I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher your last name. Begins with an A. I'm going to have you come up and identify yourself. Mr. Skiles?
Hi, my name is Thaddeus Skiles. I represent Homeway Industries. They're talking about 4,500 new jobs if the feed-in tariff moves forward. We at Homeway Industries are against anything that would keep that from moving forward as fast as possible. We have a vested interest in this because we do have a solar panel training program where we put out anywhere from 100 to 120 highly qualified, highly skilled workers that are not able to receive jobs in the city of Los Angeles. We feel that them having to travel to Lancaster, Palmdale, the Imperial Valley to work is ridiculous. 4,500 new jobs will highly impact the city of Los Angeles, and we are in favor of the feed-in tariff moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Jim Janal, followed by Cecilia Aguillon, but I'm going to let you do it the right way, and Michael Kahn. Yes, sir.
Good morning. Jim Janal with Run On Sun. I'm an installer in Pasadena. The ratepayer advocate says this is costing you an extra $100 million over 20 years. If you look that out over the number of ratepayers in the city, you're talking about 28.5 cents per month. Or in other words, less than the cost of the postage stamp that your ratepayers have to use to mail in their payments. What do you get for that money? You get jobs in Los Angeles. You get 100 megawatts of solar in the city where the ratepayer told us the people can actually see what they're paying for. You get tax revenues for the city. You get employment. And you let the Department of Water and Power meet their feed-in tariff requirement mandated by the state and add to their renewable portfolio. That's a pretty good deal for the cost of a postage stamp per month. We urge you to support the feed-in tariff and defeat the motion. Thank you.
Please come forward.
Good morning. My name is Cecilia Aguillon, and I work for Kyocera Solar. We're a manufacturer of PV cells and modules in Tijuana and in San Diego, California. And I'm representing here the California Solar Energy Industries Association, CalCIA. We have been working on this feed-in tariff for more than 3 years. The City Council has voted on it before, and really when you look at the numbers that presented and studied by DWP, it's about 3 cents above the renewables, and I think for 3 cents, the revenue that you get from tax, payroll taxes, from property taxes, from equipment, sales tax, and all the jobs that you get besides installation, I think is worth it. I really urge you on behalf of CalCIA to not delay this program. Let's move it forward as we are looking at Los Angeles to be the leader in how to implement a feed-in tariff, since the state has not really done a good job at implementing theirs. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Kahn, John Walsh, Carolyn Casavan.
Hi, thank you. I'm a member of the Clean LA Solar Coalition, and we've been working on this program for years. There's been a lot of study done. The program is going to pay an average of 15 cents a kilowatt hour, starting out at 17 just to get the program started, but averaging at 15. And this program really, that price comes out to pennies per taxpayer, per ratepayer. The program is going to make jobs. It's going to continue commercial solar projects in LA, which otherwise would come to an end because the incentive program is ending. It's a good investment. If we go a lower price, we're going to end up with lower priced modules, the cheap imported modules, and not the really good domestic modules. So I urge you to ensure this program isn't delayed and keep it going. It's good for Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. John Walsh, followed by Ms. Casavan and Bahram Faseli.
I've only spoken twice. It says 1 minute. I have 2 minutes. You got to understand what's happening here. is they are voting to take control, to reverse a decision of the DWP Power Commissioners. Why? Because in April of last year, they passed here, you passed a motion that took the power of this city council from issuing these contracts. So now all the contracts and millions of dollars of these clean green contracts are coming only through the DWP, where the mayor controls the DWP. I have more time than that. Where the mayor controls the DWP, anybody out there can count to 5. I haven't been up here for 5 minutes. So what I'm telling you right now is this is a power thing.
Thank you.
No, wait a second.
No, I said before I started that everyone on this item will get 1 minute, Mr. Walsh. Okay, Ms. Kasavan, Baram Faseli, and Dow House Dude. Yes.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Caspian. I'm the president of the San Fernando Valley Green Team. We've supported the feed-in tariff program for a number of years now, and I'm here today speaking in opposition to this motion. Please allow the FIT to proceed as approved by the LADWP Commission. Each round of review results in delays, and it increases the uncertainty for business. These delays stall the economy. We're in a recovery now, moving forward with action and certainty right now on the council's part really makes a difference. So I urge you to vote no on this motion and let the FIT move forward in a timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Bahram Fazali. I'm a policy analyst with Communities for a Better Environment and a member of the Clean LA Solar Coalition. I'm speaking against the motion, and we want to emphasize how important this program is for vulnerable communities we organize in Southeast LA and in Harbor area. And a program like this that creates more than 4,500 jobs with $500 million of private investment and matching federal funds is very important in promoting clean renewable energy and creating jobs for low-income communities of color and for promoting environmental health in environmental justice communities. So we want to urge the Council to proceed with the program without further delay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Dude, followed by Mary Leslie, followed by Lauren Steiner, I believe it is. Yes.
Yes, I am not as informed as most people on this issue, but I can tell you one thing. The city was begging the DWP for money last year because they were going broke. And the WP gave the city billions of dollars, so after begging quite a bit. So I know that whoever controls the WP, BB, is the one to be. So, you know, we're talking about power against power, but not the right kind of power. Everybody needs electrical and gas power in a home. But you play power games that leave a lot of people in the cold and sweating in the summer. You see? It's a power game where the people lose. They lose their money and they don't get what they deserve. It is a power game. The WP is more powerful than the city.
Thank you. Mary, please come forward, followed by Lauren Steiner.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm here to urge you to vote no on today's Prop 245 to take jurisdiction of the 100-megawatt feed-in tariff program that was unanimously approved by the LADWP board just 10 days ago. As you know, the mayor proposed this ambitious program back in 2008 to help us reach our renewable portfolio goals. No less than a dozen public hearings on this program have occurred via the LA City Council meetings, the LADWP city workshops, and numerous briefings citywide. No one should be surprised by the FIT program unanimously adopted last week. United as a council, you passed and the mayor signed the FIT ordinance last April, giving our general manager the authority to create a 150 megawatt program, authorizing him to charge up to 30 cents a kilowatt hour. A 10 megawatt demonstration program was launched in May. 2 DWP releases shared the number and geographic diversity of the program. I'd like to say that this has been thoroughly researched and investigated. Please begin.
Thank you. Lauren Steiner, Mary Luanano, and Jack Humphreyville.
Hi, I'm Lauren Steiner. I'm a resident of Benedict Canyon, Paul Koretz's district. He's been a great environmental councilman. Thank you for all your work. We've waited long enough. I first learned about solar power in the very first Earth Day in 1970. I was 12 years old. In 1979, I cheered when Jimmy Carter put solar panels on the roof of the White House, and I booed when Reagan authorized taking them off in 1981. In 2006, I worked on the Million Solar Roofs bill with Environment California. Since then, we've got 6 times more solar power than we had then. In 2010, I stood on the beach for Hands Across the Sand, and I spoke to Bill Rosendahl about this feed-in tariff. So I was so elated last week when I found out it was finally going through. Imagine my dismay when several days later I found out that there's motion here for more study. We don't need more study.
Thank you.
President Obama said we will respond to
Thank you, Ms. Steiner. Thank you. Your minute is up. Thank you. Your minute is up. Okay, if I could get the next speaker, followed by Jack Humphreyville, followed by Frank Lopez. Yes.
Hi, Mr. Council President. Thank you for the opportunity to address you and all the council members. My name is Mary Luevano. I'm the Policy and Legislative Director at Global Green USA. We're a locally based U.S. arm of an international nonprofit founded by Mikhail Gorbachev. I'm talking quickly because I know my time is limited, and all I will say is that I echo the comments of my colleagues from the LA Business Council. We are a member of the Clean LA Solar Coalition, have been for the last 3 years. Personally, I've been doing advocacy to encourage the city of Los Angeles to beef up its solar in-basin solar resources for the last decade. I like to think that I was a young woman when I started that. Please don't make me an old woman when I finally see the results. Thanks.
Thank you. Jack Humphreyville, followed by Frank Lopez, followed by Bruce Campbell.
My name is Jack Humphreyville. I'm with the Greater Wilshire Neighborhood Council, and I'm also chair of the DWP Advocacy Committee. Leaving aside the apple pie and motherhood nature of this feed-in tariff, it deserves further consideration. It appears to be another pet project that's going to cost ratepayers about $150 million over the next 20 years. Putting this in the context that our rates are probably going to double over the next 10 years, this is totally unacceptable. Furthermore, it just joins another list of pet projects ranging from Elysian Park, LA River, LAUSD, and to say nothing about the shenanigans going on in Silver Lake. Furthermore, there appear to be some conflicts of interest between the Garcetti staff, the mayor's staff, and the people that are proposing this development that I think should be further investigated. Finally, I think there's a lack of transparency here. Yes, we've been talking about feed-in tariffs for a while, but we hadn't been talking about the 17-cent rate, which is significantly above market. I urge you to reconsider it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez, Bruce Campbell, followed by Evan Gillespie.
Good morning, Council. Good morning, Council members. My name is Frank Lopez, and I'm here today on behalf of the Los Angeles Area Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber is a member of the Clean LA Solar Coalition and was an early supporter of the feed-in tariff program. We believe that the program has gone through the proper public process of review and that LADWP should be allowed to implement the program as approved by their board. We understand your concern regarding the cost of the program and commend you for having the best interests of ratepayers at heart. However, the LA business community believes that the much-needed local economic development benefits generated by the FIT program outweigh the marginal increase in cost to ratepayers. As a matter of fact, we have several members that are interested in waiting to apply for the program when it is approved. We also believe that this program is needed to help LADWP meet its renewable energy goals, and therefore we urge you to oppose this motion and allow LADWP to move forward with its FIT program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell, followed by, I think it's Evan Gillespie. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Council President and Council members. I'm Bruce Campbell from Palms. I saw a film on how wonderful feed-in tariffs are working in Germany, and LA sure has a hell of a lot more sunshine than Germany. I cannot disclose this confidential info, but I was at a recent mayoral interviews, and Ms. Perry's position there does not match the motion currently before you. Our climate situation is worse than thought. We need local jobs and clean energy immediately. Please defeat this desperate campaign ploy motion before you today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Evan, please come forward with your entourage.
Thank you. Hi, Evan Gillespie. I'm with the Sierra Club, and I just want to start by thanking this council for all the attention and detail that you guys have put towards this program over the last 3 years. It is now, as designed, a real example of the leadership of Los Angeles when it comes to supporting clean energy and moving away from coal. On behalf of our 15,000 members here in the city of LA, we want to encourage you to vote no on this motion. It's unclear what more study we need to do after 3 UCLA studies, a USC study. We know what we need to know. The most important thing now, if we are going to move away from coal, create good jobs in this city, and help grow the economy, we need to move forward with this program today. And so I encourage you all to vote no on it. We want to thank the Councilmember Koretz, Councilmember Huizar, all of you who have supported this program, Rosendahl, all over the years. We greatly appreciate your support, and we encourage you to move forward with the program today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming down. Okay, we're going to call on Ms. Perry, followed by Mr. Huizar. So if we can switch that on the queue here. Ms. Perry, followed by Mr. Huizar, then Mr. Koretz, and then Mr. Alarcon.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and to the gentleman who said that my actions don't meet with my motion. They actually do fall clearly within the confines of what I would like to do here today, and I hope that you can hear what I have to say, because I'd like to believe that we live in a city where we can express questions and put them on the record for the public to consume. So to characterize this as an effort to stop the feed-in tariff program is a mischaracterization. And I need to say that, and I hope that you can hear me, because if you did hear me, you would know that I have been supportive of the development of a feed-in tariff program in our city. And in fact, if you look at my record, you will see that I was the first one to introduce a motion to initiate a feed-in tariff demonstration project. It was small. Not everyone agreed with the size of it, but almost everyone agreed that it was a good idea to start it. The reason I wanted to start it small, so we could provide metrics, analytical information, impacts to customers, so the department could embrace it more fully, and so that we could build a case for the entire city to take a look at and understand and embrace, and to use that demonstration project as a way to educate the public about why feed-in tariff is a good thing. Now, obviously, things got changed along the course, but I think the city can be a leader in solar energy. I support that. Now, this program obviously is going to help us meet our state renewable energy goals, and I think we should move forward. So again, let's stop with the mischaracterization and hear what I have to say. I just want people to be cognizant of the pricing. I believe this can withstand scrutiny. I think it's appropriate to put the conversation out there about pricing, because everyone needs to know that we're about to go through a seismic shift in the way that we handle this precious resource here in this city, and I think people need to make informed decisions. Nothing more, nothing less. There's nothing to fear there. Solar will come, and if we have a good price, a right price, not only will we have a cost-effective system, but we will put people back to work. And that's another reason why this is important. I am just not sure whether 17 cents is the right price or 15 cents per kilowatt hour is the right price. That is the question I'm asking. Now, right now, the average ratepayer has a household income of $50,000 a year. All I want to do is ask these folks who work for DWP, Dr. Pickle, we got this ratepayer advocate. The voters said they wanted a ratepayer advocate to provide unbiased information for us all to consume. And all I want to do through this 245 is let Dr. Pickle do his job and let people hear the information, not just in this chamber, but on television too. And so that we can teach, use this as a teachable moment as to why the future of this effort is a good one. And that is the question that I have before you today. So with that, if the department, Mr. President, I do want the department to come up, and Dr. Pickle, I can press my button again for the questions I'd like to ask, or
yes,
how would you
please.
like me to handle that?
Can you press the button again? We have about 5 more speakers. And
okay, great.
We're over.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much. All right. Our next speaker, we have Councilmember Huizar, then followed by Councilman Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, what's before us today is a Section 245 motion whether we should take this back under our jurisdiction and send it to committee for discussion on the merits. And believe me, there's been plenty of discussion about this item over the last several years. One of the public speakers mentioned that in November 2008, our mayor announced this program, and also as part of a requirement by the state to move forward with a 150 megawatt FIT program. And in March or April of 2012, we also moved forward in E&E and this committee and this council to set up the structure by which we will do that. And in August of 2012, we heard an update in the E&E committee on a demonstration project to see where we are with pricing. And here we are today asking to go back yet once again to review this furthermore. I don't think we will get any new or additional information in the committee or in this council if we were to assert this. But one thing is certain this Section 245 motion will do, and that is that it will do nothing but send mixed messages to the solar industry as to whether they want to invest in the city of Los Angeles or not. Yes, this costs a little bit more than some of the other solar investment the city has been making. We are purchasing solar power energy from the desert and bringing it to Los Angeles. And this is going to cost a little bit more, but you know what? You take the cost-benefit analysis in terms of jobs, tax revenue, having people invest when commercial and industrial people want to keep their businesses in Los Angeles because the energy will be cheaper. Those are benefits that we cannot deny and will go a long way in justifying any additional cost. On top of that, this is there's a 100 megawatt program. We still have yet to do 50. I would assume that's going to be cheaper than this, and the blended rate is going to get us to a lower overall rate for the 150 megawatt program that we have. So I want to first, lastly, thank our ratepayer advocate. In fact, I was one of the first to put in a motion to put in the idea of a ratepayer advocate, and he's done his job, and he's done a great job. He's bringing information to us about what the reality is and the cost benefits of that. He told us what the pricing would be and how that compares to other solar energy we could purchase. Now it's up to us to make that decision in taking into account those additional benefits. The ratepayer advocate has also done a wonderful job with the last energy rate proposal increase, where we decided to not be as aggressive, and we decided to postpone the water rate increase that was postponed by DWP at that time. He's doing a marvelous job, and here he did his job as well. Now it's up to us to make the decision. And on the cost-benefit ratio, we see there's a lot more benefits to us if we move forward and not tell the industry that the city of Los Angeles is not interested in solar energy rooftops. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Councilman Koretz, followed by Councilman Alarcon.
Yes, I wonder if we could ask Mr. Nichols and Dr. Pickle to come up and answer a few questions. And first, as you're getting seated, Ron, I want to commend you and your staff for this proposed project. We've all been working on it together for a long time. We've heard it 4 or 5 times in Energy and Environment. It's well vetted, and I'm personally very pleased with what you've come up with. Can you clarify for me, compared to other equivalent local LA solar programs, how does the feed-in tariff 15-cent price measure up? How does it compare? And how does it add up? How do you get to an average of 15 cents?
My name is Mike Webster. I'm Assistant Director of Power System Planning and Development. I'd like to answer that question. Is that it's really a convergence of several programs. The first is our Commercial Solar Incentive Program. There's $10 million left in that program. It will reopen on July 1st. It'll probably be gone in several minutes. We pay an equivalent amount of about 18 cents a kilowatt hour for that commercial program, and the feed-in tariff program really comes alongside and replaces that, again, at less cost. Our residential solar incentive program, they're smaller projects, and that cost to us is about 23 cents per kilowatt hour. Our demonstration program, if you average the contracts that we are working through right now, come in at 17.5 cents per kilowatt hour on average. And we're recommending starting the program at 17 cents, dropping it to 13 with an average of 15 cents per kilowatt hour. And we've also looked at programs across the United States. The city of Palo Alto offered a program at about 14 cents. No one built any solar. So they've recently upped that program to 16.5 cents per kilowatt hour. And we've seen other programs right about that level. So that's how we basically triangulated into a recommendation of about 15 cents on average.
Is there any danger in our missing federal tax incentives if we delay the implementation of the program?
Currently, federal tax incentives end at the end of 2016, and roughly the tax incentives and the depreciation cover about 40 to 50% of the cost of solar. And so it's important to get the program started so that we can award the contracts and the providers have time to build and complete their installations by the end of 2016.
And Dr. Pickle, I wonder how you came up with your 13-cent price point.
I didn't. The DWP price point for the avoided cost of renewable energy is 11 cents. We may have studied this for a long time, but prices are coming down and the market's changing rapidly. The projects we're talking about that are eligible for the Feed-in Tariff program are between 6 and 600 times the size of a home residential system. For the larger portion of this, the 1,000 kilowatt to 3,000 kilowatt, the California utilities recently held an auction for pricing for these. The latest report from the PUC showed the average price of the contracts executed for this program was 9 cents a kilowatt hour. So what are comparable prices for renewables? We bought big renewables at 9 cents. Other utilities in the state of California have bought an average portfolio at 9 cents. That was for projects 1 to 20 megawatts, but they had projects into the 1 to 3 megawatt range.
Councilor Perez, please push the button again if we have more questions. We do have Councilman Racon next, and then Councilman Rosendahl.
Okay. I'm at a loss why we're even having this discussion. I thought we had this discussion. The council voted unanimously, and I raised some questions about the rate that was being contemplated, the upper rate, the cap, at 30 cents. At 17 cents more than what the cap is now. And I don't understand. The council voted unanimously to allow the department to negotiate up to 30 cents. Now they come back with a range from 17 cents to, in 2.5 years, down to 13 cents. And we're going to 245 this? I think that's a pretty good drop from 30 cents to 17. And I was the one that was screaming in committee and on the council floor. Ultimately, I voted for it because the department committed to that would not be the cap, that was just an outer range. And they came back with something that is much more reasonable. The fact of the matter is this is a marketing program. It is not the end of the day product that we are seeking. We are trying to stimulate a market. And we can stimulate that market because we have 99.5% of our power that we are holding back from the solar. This represents essentially less than half of 1% of the power that we're generating. And we're doing it because we want to create a market in solar. So typically when businesses want to sell product, what do? They go to the grocery store and they give away soda and they give away candy and they give away all kinds of stuff, and they take a loss at the beginning in order to grow the market. I'm further confused at why there wasn't all this falderall about the $250 million transfer from DWP. Where is all the disgust? Where was the ratepayer advocate on that discussion? We hear nothing on the transfer. I mean, when I used to coach, I used to tell the kids, keep your eye on the ball. $250 million is a lot more expensive than this. So I actually want to commend the department for coming back with this range. In 2.5 years, we'll be at 13%, and when the next 100 megawatts, we'll probably lower the cap to 12 cents or 10 cents even. I don't know, that's a little aggressive, but we're moving in that direction, and that's the good news. We've had this discussion for 10 years. In earnest, the last 5. You know, the sun is being wasted.
Thank you,
just by our words, by the length of time we talk about this.
Please check your clock.
So let's move forward for the next generation. And yeah, we have to pay a little bit more now, but in the long run, it's going to save us a lot of money.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Okay, our next speaker is Councilor Rosendahl. I understand in your 3 minutes, you want to give 1 minute to a guest.
James Brennan, who is a Mar Vista leader on the solar energy.
For 1 minute.
His
Please
card
come on
wasn't
up.
picked. And he's done a lot of work in the district. Ron Nichols has worked with him, has others, and we have an amazing program in Mar Vista. So please go to your highlighted points.
Good morning, Council, and thank you, Councilmember Rosendahl, for sharing your time. I would like to, I'm here on behalf of Open Neighborhoods. We are a portfolio company of the LA Clean Tech Incubator. And I would like to point out that when Dr. Pickle introduced his testimony, he pointed out this was based on utility policies dating back to 1978. A lot has changed since 1978, and we now have access to rooftop solar technology that's cheaper than retail electricity provided by the grid. In addition, there are benefits to locating these panels in our neighborhoods. Some of these benefits are improved grid reliability. When the sun is shining, we generate electricity and it reduces outages in your neighborhood. There's a benefit to that in terms of reduced cost and disruption to businesses. Local energy supply. This avoids the need to build new substations in our neighborhoods. When we build these new substations, there's a cost to our communities in terms of loss of property value, health and safety risks, fire and explosion risks. Solar energy does not provide these.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilor Rosendahl, balance your time,
Mr.
1
President.
minute.
It's an interesting conversation. Obviously, I feel, and I can't speak for all my colleagues, but I'm sure they feel the same way, we are sunny Southern California. And if anything, we should make solar work for us. Logically, philosophically, it all makes sense. Why do you think everybody comes to L.A.? It's what it is. Look at the weather we just had this last week. So with that as a backdrop, Dr. Pickle, explain to me your position right now. I'm sort of seeing that you're saying the first $100 million, Dr. Pickle says, will cost to DWP customers based on the entire 100 megawatt program, or is this just based on additional 25? Explain to me how you get to your numbers and why you want to delay.
Well, one, I do not oppose the feed-in tariff program. I oppose the pricing in this initial level because it is substantially too high, and the pricing was increased about 50%, or the subsidy was increased about 50% in the filing that was released, and I had 1 day to review it. So one, it deserves a full airing, and that's one of the reasons why 245 is appropriate.
So you had 1 day?
One business day. After an equivalent of a 50% increase in the subsidy from ratepayers to this program. My concern with this is it's substantially above market prices for renewables. We can get renewables for 9 to 11 cents. We're getting small renewables for 9 to 11 cents. Pages 9 and 10 of the handout I've given to you show the locations of bids that have been received largely from solar projects throughout California by Southern California Edison and some of the other
California Edison, how it was.
Councilor, please check your time. We have already over 18 seconds.
Edison also has a FIT program that hasn't been very successful, but for larger projects, 1 megawatts to 20 megawatts, and including some 1 to 3 megawatt projects like we're looking in our FIT program, they've gone out for auction on those. And the results on pages 9 and 10 of my handout show the location of some of the bids received.
Thank you.
I
Next speaker.
look forward to talking again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Englander, followed by Councilman Labange.
Thank you. And I especially want to thank the department and Ron for spearheading this and working with the business community and Mary Leslie, many others who have really been pushing hard to get this done. I'm fully in support of this, 100%. And as you know, my home is on solar as well, and so love solar programs, and I think feed-in tariff is critically important to this region and to DWP and to the future. And I want to applaud our ratepayer advocate as well. This is not a matter of slowing it down or pushing it off or going back and saying, we approved this already at 30 cents and we should move forward and not stop this. Well, we didn't have a ratepayer advocate on board back then. We hadn't had any actual reviews. The market conditions have changed. I don't think we should slow this down at all. But I think what we should do is just take the opportunity to look at that cost. Or maybe there's some other ways where other markets have also auctioned off parts of it once you've got so many people that bought into the system or are signed up for it, and looking at auctioning perhaps, so starting it at one price point. I think those are the things we've got to hear. I actually applaud Ms. Perry and Mr. Parks for bringing in this 245. This is our responsibility, and it's one thing to say, well, we don't like something else with the department, or we should question perhaps transfers and all these other things. Well, this is what's before us right now, and I think we should stand up here and applaud it and say we absolutely, I think we've all voted for feed-in tariff. It's a great thing. Its time has come, but the price points, and particularly on looking at the avoided costs differential from the adjusted pricing and the multipliers, have to be questioned in terms of what other opportunities. We've got a ratepayers advocate on board. That's why we wanted it. The voters, actually, it wasn't done by this body. The voters voted in a ratepayer advocate for this purpose. And I think we should take the opportunity to have that discussion and not kick it down the road too far, but immediately have that discussion. And so I support the 245 for that reason. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Labange, followed by Councilman
Thank you. I think Citizen Commissioner Nick Patsoris was the first one to call for a ratepayer advocate, if I remember my history right. But what I want to talk about right now is natural gas. It comes from Texas, right?
Comes from many places.
And the price fluctuates, right? Some days you make money, some days you have to pay more money, right?
Correct.
With this program, will there be fluctuation?
No, the price will be fixed.
Fixed 100% on that. But what if you find out, like you do a study 2 years from now, how much adjustment could you make? If you find out what everybody's saying on one side is right, and even though we all want this, everybody wants to move ahead, this is the very thing. The President addressed it yesterday in his speech. What happens if you find out it's a lot cheaper like 2 or 3 years from now with the feed-in tariff? How can you adjust this?
Well, we'll be adjusting it downward. Our intent is downward, 1 penny per kilowatt hour for each incremental new contract signed every 6 months.
Okay, so there's an opportunity there. The other thing, what if you live on a shady side of the street? You're out of luck?
Well, you do need sunshine for solar to work.
Okay, I know, because there's a lot of people in the hills. I represent the hills and the canyons, and there'll be opportunities that not get. But I did hear from some speakers who are very much advocates for the whole city, which is so important, that it's not just one part of the city that's jumping on this, that the whole city has an opportunity, and families from San Pedro to Chatsworth, etc. The big thing I'm interested in every park and every library and every school, that they have a solar panel on top. When are we going to see a report from DWP that would attack that issue so we can lower the cost, keep our gyms open longer, our fields open? What's going on with that?
Well, Councilmember Labange, we are actually doing an evaluation of what the potential is on those structures so that we can get back to you on that.
I want that real good, because we don't want to hear the Parks Department have to close facilities because they don't have the money if they could get it off the top of their roof. Thank you, Mr. Nichols.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Krikorian, followed by Councilman Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think
to Mr. LaBonge's point about the shady side of the street, one of the great advantages of having a feed-in tariff program and encouraging more distributed generation in basin is the diversification of our solar generation, because solar is very much dependent upon the exact amount. It becomes grossly inefficient if there's a little bit of shadowing or shading over the panel. So you want to have wide diversification precisely for that reason, because it allows us to produce more efficient solar generation across the city. Dr. Pickle, a couple of questions that I want to squeeze in while I have the time. One, you mentioned that you were only given one business day to review a substantially changed program, but the change in the program was the price point alone, wasn't it? From 15 to 17 cents?
Yes, but that's a 50% increase in the subsidy, and that was one day was just barely enough to do a basic calculation on that.
Right, but the architecture of the program, the rest of the program is essentially the same that we've been discussing in this council with the DWP, with the business community, with the ratepayer community for months, years.
There was a bundling component to this that also dropped out or was separated from it. So there were other changes to the program.
Okay, but your position is that, as I understand it, that the pricing should be based on the avoided cost of the renewable portfolio.
Or the current market price of renewables.
Okay.
And the renewables that are currently setting the price are all renewables that don't really fluctuate much with time.
Okay.
Other than going down.
So right now, the bulk of the DWP's renewable portfolio is wind, which is priced considerably lower than solar, precisely because it has different attributes. So when you have these two kinds of, and there's many other sources of renewable energy as well, of course, geothermal and others, but as to wind versus solar, we don't get peak wind for the most part, and solar has benefits that wind does not. Isn't that true?
This is adjusted for in the price ratios that DWP applies as part of this program. The 17 cents isn't really 17 cents. On peak, the price per kilowatt hour is not 17, but 2.25 times that, so over 35 cents a kilowatt hour.
Okay, can the department speak to those issues as well, please, since I'm out of time?
Mr. Zine.
Wait, I need further answer to my question.
Oh, okay.
So there is a time of use pricing that has off-peak pricing being very, very low, peak pricing being very, very high. But when you look at the output of solar, to orientate solar for maximum generation, the average price comes in at the 17 cents. Now, there are opportunities for developers to maybe orient it more towards peak hours and get less overall production. And it may cost about 5% more if they do that. But there's less megawatt hours actually being sold to us.
One further point on the renewables and the price of renewables. Those prices are set mostly on solar these days, large solar projects, and a little bit on geothermal. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes. So the avoided cost number is basically looking at our 2012 Integrated Resource Plan as we move to 25% in 2016 and 33% in 2020. We have looked at the types of renewables we need to have the most robust power system possible and our transmission grid. And so those renewables cost us delivered about 11 cents. And it's a portfolio of geothermal, solar, and just a little bit more wind in our portfolio.
I would like to point out that the comparable, supposedly comparable costs for other programs that were discussed by Dr. Pickle, while we certainly appreciate the cost concerns, we obviously want to get the lowest cost we can. Those other programs that by the investor-owned utilities, there have been some that are referenced by Sacramento Municipal Utility District, have been for larger projects, typically that are ground-mounted in open fields in Sacramento, literally in cow pastures. Well, we don't have a lot of open fields and cow pastures within the city of Los Angeles, and therefore those opportunities don't exist for us. The opportunities for us principally exist on rooftops and in some cases in parking lots. And the scale of it's lower, the cost of it is, as a result is higher, and we believe that our program takes that into account, and it's why the pricing is at the level that it's at.
Okay, Mr. Zine.
Thank you. I don't think there's anyone here who doesn't support the solar with the Department of Water and Power to generate that energy for the people of Los Angeles. And I understand my colleague, Ms. Perry, in her motion on this 245. Is there some way that we can get, and not to delay this, not to send it back to committee and have it delayed for more weeks, more months, as Dr. Pickle has to do more analysis, is there a way we could expedite to get those answers that have been brought up in a fast fashion, a fast track, so we don't have to delay this for another period of time? And I serve on the committee with Mr. Huizar. We've already made our position on it. We support it. We want to do it. The issue is the cost to the consumer, which obviously we're concerned about. How can we come up with something to get this done quickly, answer these questions, to satisfy so we can move this program forward, to employ those folks, to get it online, and not to have this continued delay? As Ms. Perry has great concerns, as I understand, we don't want to vote something that's going to hold up a project. At the same time, we got some serious reservations about the cost. So, Ron, how can we pull that together in a package and move it and get it done in an expeditious fashion?
Well, Councilmember Zine, I actually think that we have that information for you here today and have been explaining that in some of our responses. Our pricing level that we're talking about, yes, it is 2 cents higher than what we were talking about earlier. There actually was a range of costs that were discussed in the many public workshops that we had. Pricing significantly higher than 17 cents was contemplated. We believe that the pricing level that we have does constitute a level that's necessary to prime the pump and get things moving here. The incremental cost above and beyond the discussed average 11 cents per kilowatt hour of the rest of our renewable program over a 3-year period of implementation of this will result in an average cost per month for our residential customer of between 15 and 17 cents a month. I think one of the commentators said it was something like a postage stamp. Well, it's actually like about a third of a postage stamp.
Well, this postage is going up again, by the way.
It is. The nice thing about this is once we enter into these contracts won't go up. It'll be like a forever stamp. So we like those. So as a result, we believe that we've made the right move. We believe it's at a pricing level that's been well substantiated. We think it's something that the very minor cost that we're talking about here does the right thing to make Los Angeles a leader in the feed-in tariff and solar at an affordable price point that's been well substantiated, and we very much advocate that you move forward with
Now, with Dr. Pickle and his concern, was obviously has prompted this 245. Dr. Pickle, how do we resolve this? Because obviously you're the ratepayer advocate, which the voters want to have the analysis. How do we bring this to completion without another further delay?
We can go one of two routes. My initial proposal was price it at current avoided cost of renewables, market price of renewables, 11 cents by DWP's calculation. That way there's no subsidy from our ratepayers for what we're substituting out. Another approach is to build on the experience with the other utilities. The other utilities have had auctions for energy above 500 kilowatts. We should do auctions above 500 kilowatts. At the same time, I think some reduction for projects under 500 kilowatts down to 30 kilowatts, that fixed fit pricing is appropriate. But certainly, we're talking about a total of $550 million of energy over the next 20 years. We're not doing any competitive bidding on any of it. I think we should at least make the larger projects subject to competitive bidding.
Ron?
Councilmember Zine, my concern about this is this point. We have discussed the prospect of auction process. We actually did an auction process for our first 10 megawatts, and I'll be honest with you, it was plagued with some difficulties. We have concerns about getting adequate, timely response on this program. I believe that when we've discussed auction, non-auction, different price points in many months of public workshops, and have come upon a plan for a fixed price program in response to all of those comments, and weighing some of the issues that Dr. Pickle has talked about, of trying to get the squeal out of the pig, if you will. At the end of the day, we don't believe that we can move forward timely on a program that we can assure delivery of this with an auction process at this point for this 100 megawatts. Might there be an option for that, opportunity for that later? Potentially so. We will get really good information out of this program. We'll move forward on this program. LA will make solid gains in rooftop solar here in the city. And to move off of that, I think puts that entire program in doubt. If we were to do something even close to that 11-cent level, we've seen other utilities see even higher prices at 14 cents.
Your time,
go
Mr.
begging.
Zine.
Okay, thank you. But if it goes back to committee, then this will obviously be a further
Zine.
delay. I just made the final comment.
Okay, you're way over.
Well, you weren't paying attention.
Okay, I was not. Okay. If somebody could quickly staff, I just got a text. Apparently there's been another college shooting, Lone Star College in Texas. Could somebody get the particulars to me on that? Mr. Parks.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pickle, I want to commend you for coming forth with this information. And I think the fact that you made a concerted effort to hold back on the 5-year increase on the power rates recently, and also that we're holding in abeyance water rates. In my mind, it would appear that we would do everything in our power to determine the reduction of cost of spending if we can. And it would appear to me that with not confusing the public by giving the impression that people are trying to delay their approval of the process, but we're really zeroing in on just the dollar amount, is basically, I think, sending the wrong message. I would hope that between Water and Power and Mr. Pickle, being that he only saw this for one day, and most of the terms that the both of you are using, Mr. Nichols and Mr. Pickle, most people have no clue what you're talking about. It would appear that you would take about a week and sit down and figure out whether you can hammer this out before you bring us something that the rate advocate, who was voted on overwhelmingly by the public, has come forward and said we could save literally millions of dollars. And yet we're going to say, no, we feel comfortable. But the Water and Power felt comfortable at a 5-year raise in power. It was cut back. They felt comfortable about other raises that came forward and that were cut back. These are things I think we owe the public to listen to and save as many dollars on spending as we're asking them to pay, whether it's a half-cent sales tax, whether it's an increase in dealing with their trash fees, whatever we've asked them to do, we owe them the obligation that when we spend this money, that we go to the finest point and say whether we save a half-cent, a quarter-cent, a whole cent, or 3 cents, we owe it to them for that deliberation. And so I would just ask, and again, not saying send it back to rehash the tariff program, but what would it take to rehash the costing between the ratepayer advocate and the general manager so that there's at least a sense that there's been a discussion and the process has worked to this point? Is that something that takes more than a week or 2 or 3 days? Or
Well, I could respond, Councilmember Parks, to the question with respect to time. I anticipate it would take easily a month, only from the perspective of we would need to go back, review this matter procedurally. It has to go back then to if there were any modification in that plan. Irrespective, we have to go back to our board. Our board has to act, and it could take a significant period of time. And I'm here to say today, I'm unaware of anything based on, and I have a great respect for Dr. Pickle, but I think on this particular point, we just have to respectfully disagree. And that is, we believe we have the information. We believe we have provided the information out there with respect to the pricing. We talked today about the differences. We don't believe that we can achieve this program by meaningfully lowering the price any further than we already are. And as a result, I anticipate all we would do is end up having a delay of time to be coming back to you with the same program that we're talking about today.
Okay. Dr. Pickle, do you view that you're at a point that neither one of you would move off that point?
I think we could reach agreement with a little coaching from the side. I think the key difference is what's success for this program. To my mind, as little subsidy as possible is success from my viewpoint. And from the department's viewpoint, it's a desire to have projects in the ground. My view is you don't drill oil wells where there's no oil, and you shouldn't try to put solar in the coastal cloud area. So we shouldn't be trying to price it to be successful in areas while sunny are not sunny enough to be attractive for solar.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yesterday in his inaugural address, President Obama said, quote, "We will respond to the threat of climate change, knowing that the failure to do so would betray our children and future generations. The path towards sustainable energy sources will be long and sometimes difficult. But America cannot resist this transition. We must lead it. We cannot cede to other nations the technology that will power new jobs and new industries. We must claim its promise." And I think today in Los Angeles, we're poised to lead that transition. We're poised to claim its promise and create those new jobs right here in LA. We're already years behind where we need to be as a city in terms of solar power. We have endless sunlight. We have hundreds of miles of rooftops. And we're decades away from where we need to be in terms of clean power as a nation. Each day we wait is another day where we spew coal emissions across several states. And each day we wait is another day where we have the possibility of another Superstorm Sunday, where 135 plus people died, and it cost the United States taxpayers, including those in Los Angeles, over $60 billion. That's the true cost of climate change, staring us in the face, and I think we need to move now. I want to see solar panels all around us. I want our ratepayers to see for themselves every day as they look around Los Angeles what we're doing to implement clean power. I will not vote to wait one more day to implement our feed-in tariff program. I believe it is short-sighted and fiscally and morally irresponsible. Also, we're asking folks in Kern County and desert communities surrounding Los Angeles to build huge solar farms in their backyard without first building it in our own. I think that's not fair and not neighborly. LA's been famous for its air pollution. Now it's time for the city to be famous for its renewable energy programs. Let's reject this 245 motion and move on.
Ms. Perry.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. One question for Mr. Nichols, and I got a question for Dr. Pickle. And Mr. Nichols, I remember when I did first introduce the motion, and the department was resistant to the idea, and you've come a long way, and your thinking has evolved on this issue, and I am very grateful that your willingness to engage in this development process. Now, last month, it seemed as though you had a pretty good proposal on the table, and then the proposal was changed. Now, I wanted to know, the previous program, I think, now tell me if I'm wrong, was a request for proposal bundled program where 3 developers would get large solar projects, I think out in the desert, with the requirement that they have a local component in basin. And I wanted you to describe the program, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the primary change is that it's now a first come, first served basis with a set price.
There's 2 different components. The 100 megawatts that's before that our board took action on and is the subject of the 245 here today is for the first come, first serve at a fixed price. 20 megawatts initially, 20 megawatts every 6 months. Thereafter, with the price going down 1 penny, assuming we get subscribed, price going down 1 penny with each of those 20 megawatt blocks every 6 months until we filled out that full 100 megawatts. We have talked about the concept of this, what we refer to as a bundled product that is a combination of larger scale solar built at utility scale with a commitment of a certain portion in city as well. That's something that we are proposing for future consideration here in the still by the end of the first quarter of this year for that incremental 50 megawatts that would, if it went forward as we have discussed, still to be acted upon by our board, would be something that we would anticipate would be a bid process and anticipating that it would end up being lower cost. So what we're trying to do is get all in a lowest cost that we can get and serve both of these requirements to advance solar in Los Angeles.
So just give us a little bit of the rationale about going from an RFP to a bid process and I'm sorry, RFP to a first come first served process.
Well,
do you expect to get a better response, or what's the logic behind that?
We would anticipate that we actually would get the opportunity is to get two things. Number one, we were trying to get as diverse of application at an affordable price as we can for solar in Los Angeles, and that is the structure and the goal of this 100 megawatt fixed price first come first serve process. The other 50 megawatts is to see if we can get some larger scale applications here that could bring in some larger developers that can get in a net lower cost, and through that process we'll have two side-by-side methods, likely at different scale, that we can then prove out how solar prices out here and how quickly it gets absorbed in Los Angeles. And we think that's a good process. All we're had asked our board for, that they voted upon in the topic of our 245 today, is that first 100 megawatt fixed price, first come, first serve.
So, Dr. Pickle, last year the council delegated contracting authority for FIT contracts, and DWP was required to report back on the test program and plans. Have you had a chance to review that report?
I haven't seen in the docket record that, other than a presentation before the Energy and Environment Committee in August, and I didn't see that had been formally filed in the docket as an official report. That report required as part of that delegation was supposed to be quarterly.
Okay, and I'm going to
starting August.
I'm going to ask the Chief Legislative Analyst's Office just to note that, and we'll follow up on that to see if there is any record of that report. My concern again has been that the council should have a full report and the opportunity to take a final look at this program, particularly with respect to the delegated procurement program, before this moves ahead. I also wanted to ask the ratepayer whether you have the opinion that the pricing exceeds the department's own estimate of the market of 11 cents per kilowatt hour with transmission costs and losses. Where do we stand with respect to that?
It does. On a discounted basis, that's $100 million. On a dollar basis over the 20 years, it may only be 17 cents per bill per month, but that adds up to $160 million over a 20-year period for these contracts.
Okay.
And that's in the department's report as well as my report.
Okay. You really second that? You okay? Okay.
Mr.
I was going to make one more very quick point, and then I think that I can finish this.
Yes, go right ahead.
I feel a little sad that we can't put questions out there without the polarization aspect arising, because I think these are questions that we should ask, and I think as public servants we have an obligation to ask them. And even though they're difficult and may make you feel uncomfortable, I still think you need to ask them. It's clear just from the number of people that we have here today and the tenor and scope of the conversation that the 245 will not pass. And so I have a recommendation, and I'll put this out for the group's consideration. I'd like to note and file the 245 and then make a motion for the Department of Water and Power, and I'll refine the language on this, to work with the ratepayer advocate on an adequate review process for major FIT proposals moving forward. And then that way the issues, we can continue to deal with the pricing issues and then see where it takes us. I had hoped that we would have, again, metrics to be able to do this, but you know what? We don't have the votes. So that's the way it is. Okay? So I'd like to say a note and file on the 245, and then I want to replace it with this verbal motion, which I will then follow up with a written motion for the record.
Okay, Mr. City Attorney.
I think it would be cleaner if there were just a written motion, because this is a
That's fine.
245 matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll get it done right now. Okay?
Okay. So,
and just for clarity, a written motion that gets referred to committee, or a Rule 16 motion, a motion that does not amend this.
Mr. Reyes.
I just want to rise and thank all the different organizations and folks who are involved in getting this program together. It's been a long haul, and I appreciate the fact that resources from UCLA and the Chamber, Mary Leslie's group, have all come together, the Business Council, to offer us this type of opportunity. I don't think anyone is hiding anything. The votes are going to fall the way they are going to fall. I believe the department did a thorough job in going out into the community and having these discussions and laying out these impacts. What's at stake now is really how we turn the corner and how we use solar energy and how we trigger jobs, how we are able to develop policy that is complementary to our city and advantageous and opportunistic with our geography and our weather. And we've said this over and over again. So I would not support the 245. I think the questions that have been raised can still be addressed so that we can continue down this process of being thorough and being transparent. And I really don't believe there's anything to hide. We are just trying to be as proactive as possible in implementing this program. So I look forward to working with Dr. Pickle as he continues to go through his analysis. There's still room for adjustment. There's still room for change. And I think it'll be for the better of this whole region. So thank you for your hard work.
Mr. Weezer.
Excuse me, Mr. President. Was there a second to Ms. Perry's motion to notify?
Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I think I'll support Ms. Perry's verbal recommendation. And in fact, we are already doing that in E&E. When we adopted this program, we asked for quarterly reports in our committee. We adopted that in March or April, and we had a report in August. Whether that wasn't submitted officially, we need to do that procedural step and do something officially and submit it officially, but we have been following that. And I think that was the CLA's recommendation that we have quarterly reports. So we have been following that, but I think Ms. Perry's recommendation today would only strengthen that, which I think our ratepayers deserve, and we will do. And my last point is this. You know, in all our renewables, we have wind, we have solar panels, etc. In the solar panel portion of our portfolio, we already have adopted or approved some desert programs that will bring in energy from Nevada. But I think Mr. Koretz is correct in that we also have to diversify ourselves even within the solar panels and do it ourselves. And like I said earlier, that's not only going to bring us the benefit of cleaner air, etc., but it's also going to provide local jobs, businesses who are willing to invest in Los Angeles, and all those other benefits. Yes, this costs a little bit more, but there's 2 points to remember. One is those benefits I just mentioned, and secondly, the avoided cost, which was pointed out by a ratepayer advocate, that also includes utilities. We're working with the private sector. And that also includes large-scale projects, which these do not. They're smaller rooftops that you could only place in the city of Los Angeles. So given that, it is going to cost a little bit more, but it's an investment worthwhile in making for the long term of the city, our environment, and for the jobs that would be immediately created. So let's move forward with this. Mr. Koretz said it right. Let's not wait another day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Weezer. Members, in light of the note and file request, we still have like 5 people on the queue. I would suggest that we let Ms. Perry close and then move forward on this item. I understand, Bill, but give me a little flexibility on this if you would. So if I could go, with your permission, if I could go to Ms. Perry to close, and then we will move on to the other issue, and if Ron and maybe Dr. Pickle could go have a side discussion with Mr. Rosendahl if he has any concerns, or Bill, I'll have one of the clerks talk to you. So Ms. Perry to close? Okay, Bill. I'll let you ask your question.
Why don't you have a full staff, and why did you just get that yesterday? I mean, you're supposed to have the resources to do the job. That's my big question.
The consulting contract to hire the headhunter was signed just before Christmas in final form. She and I met last week to get out the brochure to hire the individuals I named.
Okay, now, Bill, that's not a point of clarification. Anyway, Ms. Perry to close.
Yeah, so the Chief Legislative Analyst is drafting the motion right now as we speak, so we'll make sure that it'll be introduced during the meeting. I'm still going to vote for my 245, but I do not expect it to pass. But I just wanted to say that for people, so that people know where I stand. But again, I offer this solution so that people who are uncomfortable or don't, want to deal with this in this configuration, just know that there is another option coming, and it will be introduced during the meeting. Okay? So that's my close.
All right. So at this point, what we're going to do is vote on the 245, and then you'll submit a written motion.
Yeah.
So members, if we could just move in that direction. So at this point, Ms. Perry is requesting a yes vote, an aye vote, and Mr. Weezer, the chair, is requesting a no vote. Yeah, no, anyway, so let's just vote, and I understand. Okay, so we'll just call the remaining people on the queue then. Mr. Alarcon. Richard.
Thank you. I was in agreement with Ms. Perry on the note and file, but one of the factors that Mr. Weezer did not point out, and Mr. Koretz, is the whole notion of creating competition. That one of the ways to reduce price in the renewable alternatives is to grow competition. We all know that solar has had challenges because of its reliability and because of the lack of technology to be able to capture it and hold it to increase its reliability. And one of the elements that this does, that by creating this new diversification, adding to the equation, simple economics, you're increasing the competition. I expect all renewables will fight to reduce their cost as well. So that analysis did not come forth. And I also believe that it will stimulate research and development for the kinds of technologies that we need to capture that solar more efficiently and to be able to store it somehow down the road. That's the real challenge, and if we can do that, then I believe the rates will drop in all categories of alternatives, and I also believe that even the coal fuel will have to find a way to be more competitive. So, this discussion, yes, it is costing us a little bit more to invest in this. But we make these kinds of investments all the time in order to get a greater return in the future, and that's what this is all about. It's time to stop talking about it and start acting on it. Let's get this thing going so that we can truly drive a path to using more renewable energy and for the betterment of the future of Los Angeles.
Mr. Englander. Mr. Englander, are you good? Mr. Krikorian, are you good? No, Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. Feed-in tariff is good energy policy because it creates diversification of generation. It eliminates the need for significant transmission projects. It brings more of our generation here in basin. But it's also good economic policy. At a time when this city is still reeling with record unemployment, this is the kind of program that stimulates jobs locally. Now, Ms. Perry mentioned polarization earlier. I don't think a disagreement about viewpoint here implies polarization. In fact, the ratepayer advocate did exactly what we created the ratepayer advocate to do here, which is to analyze this, present us with the economics of it, and then allow the policymakers to make the policy decision of whether this subsidy is a cost-efficient, as Mr. Huizar pointed out, a cost-efficient step to take. The truth is this. The small businesses of Los Angeles aren't building coal plants in Utah. The small businesses of Los Angeles aren't building wind farms in Northern California. The small businesses of Los Angeles aren't building steam generation plants and geothermal facilities near the Salton Sea. But the small businesses of Los Angeles can install in-basin solar generation. So the small businesses of Los Angeles that are going to be doing this are going to be creating the jobs here in Los Angeles that we need right now. So I don't think we can wait a moment longer. I appreciate Dr. Pickle's analysis of this. I get it. It is going to cost a little bit more than if we invested in a larger utility scale, renewable portfolio, including wind and all sorts of other things. It'll cost another 15 cents or so a month. But the people of Los Angeles who are going to be paying for that are also the same people who are going to be benefiting from the economic stimulus that comes from injecting these new jobs into our economy. Some city in America is going to be the solar capital of America for the next century. I believe it should be Los Angeles. And the way we make it into Los Angeles is by starting now.
Mr. Correct.
I'd like to move that we note and file this item.
Mr. City Attorney, I see you twitching.
Well, that motion has already been made.
So if we were to vote now, and Ms. Perry, I will get to you, I just want to understand, what would we actually be voting on? Yes.
Council traditionally takes the vote on the last motion made. However, the council president has the discretion to reorder the process, and if it's at the request of a member to take up the original item first, then that would seem to be a reasonable tack.
Okay. Ms. Perry.
Yeah, actually, that's okay to vote on the last motion in first, which is to note and file, and then the language. We're still waiting for the CLA to come back with a written motion. Because the 245 is not going to pass anyway, I just wanted to be able to go on record as having voted for the 245, unless the city attorney says that if we do the last one in first, then that renders voting on the 245, what is the word you choose?
It actually
moot. It renders it moot.
It's the council president's discretion, subject to reversal by the body as to the order. Just traditionally, council takes up the last one first, but in this matter, upon your request, council president could decide to have the item 27 as written first, and then...
I just think that the suggestion that I made, the second motion that's coming in, might make people feel more comfortable that we can continue to grapple with this question without totally abandoning the issue as these proposals come in, rather than passing this 245 today, because clearly it's not going to pass. So,
okay.
You're the president.
Okay.
Your call.
Okay, so then what we'll do, we'll vote on the request to note and file, and Ms. Perry will look forward to you submitting your motion, which I got a feeling will be done relatively soon. So with that said, we're going to vote on the note and file. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes, 1 no.
Okay, if we could go to items 28 and 29, Mr. Labange. In fact, Mr. Labange, what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these items up together. So we'll take 22 and 23 as well. And it's my understanding we should receive and file those two items and then actually vote on 28 and 29.
Madam Clerk. So we got the concepts right in front right now. Next item.
Mr. President, what's before council now is items 22, 23, 28, and 29.
Mr. City Attorney.
Mr. President, just for the clarification, note and file in the city council parlance means the matter is sent to the archives without being acted upon.
Correct. To the city clerk's archives. Thank you very much. City clerk is there to receive it. Next item. All right, on 22, we're going to take cards right now. Donna Perriman, are you ready to speak right now, Donna? Come on up right now. Mr. Walsh, followed by William Rasmussen. I hope I pronounced that right. Forgive me.
Initiatives. I think it's going to be very confusing because we're going to have 3 different marijuana collective things on the ballot, and neither one of these things does anybody knows anything about what we're going to be voting on. So basically, you're not going to get anything done about trying to get revenue from the marijuana collectives. We need to be able to get revenue from the marijuana collectives and not make it so difficult for the people who do need it to be able to get this. So I'm totally against having lots of different measures on this without even letting the people know anything about which one is going to go against living in it, so that you only have very few, so that you can't have it near a school. Which one is the one that will be able to get revenue? So I think that we need to get things out so people could know what they're voting for. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Mr. Walsh.
Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, and for identification purposes only, anybody but Garcetti for mayor. I would like to thank Mr. Huizar and Carmen Trutanich. When they do the right thing, even though I don't like other things, I point it out. This city was in chaos. Drugs were we had a guy dressed up like a doctor on Hollywood Boulevard in front of a medical marijuana clinic, getting 18 and 19-year-old kids signed up. They were taking tourists out. It's been cleaned up. It was cleaned up. Not thanks to Rosendahl, Mr. Dope, or to several of the others who fought this. We cleaned it up. Come to Hollywood. You won't be harassed. But, so it doesn't matter which of these three pass. It really doesn't ultimately. All that matters is that you enforce the law. HollywoodHighlands.org.
William, R-U-S-B-O-S-I-N, Bussin. William here? Thank you, William.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm William Russ Boston. And good morning, and I appreciate your try at that name. And I'm a patient and a proponent of the Limited Immunity Initiative Ordinance. I became a proponent because cannabis is successful in treating my symptoms. I'm an AIDS patient, and I've been taking medicine for that for 10, 11, 12 years, and it doesn't feel good, and it helps me deal with the side effects. Today you have an opportunity to lead our city on the status quo on this issue, even though it's late. Patients need safe professional environments to access our medicine. Our city needs stable, good jobs to expand the tax base and respect our neighbors. Turning people like me who are sick and in pain into criminals is illogical. I mean, what do you think? I mean, I can't afford to pay a ticket, let alone you guys that do the process, you know? On behalf of Los Angeles patients, I ask that you please vote to adopt an initiative that uses the UFCW initiative and caregivers as well, you know, and maybe even patients for guidelines for safe access and affordable access. That's so important to me, let me tell you. The initiative strikes a fair balance between the needs of patients and our neighbors. Please get it together. It's time. Richard Kearns, I followed him. The first time I came up here, I followed behind Richard Kearns, and rest in peace, Richard Kearns, you know. And I think he'd be happy if you get something together real quick for us, you know, and for the people behind me. Thanks.
Thank you, William. Mr. Dude, followed by Mr. Corvette. Jerry, thank you.
I don't know why he asked me to sit down. I knew I was next. Anyway, I already told you, why do we have this dichotomy? I'm using a fancy word, dichotomy. In other words, we are very much onto the issue of alcohol. We're selling licenses to sell alcohol. I am not for any drug, but if you're going to be allowing alcohol, you should not be disallowing any other drug. Alcohol is the worst drug in our society. Marijuana is not, and even though I do not do or vote for any drugs, I say we cannot be hypocritical and be saying one thing and doing another. If you're saying that marijuana is such a bad drug, why don't you say that alcohol is the worst drug and ban alcohol first? Ban your hypocrisy first. That's the main thing to ban, hypocrisy. Either we do one thing or we do the other. We either outlaw every single drug, that includes a lot of the pills that the doctor gives you, or we just let everything flow to a natural level. We should not allow anything if we don't outlaw something else. So stop being hypocritical about everything.
Thank you very much. Gary Colbert, is that correct, Gary?
Dollhouse.
On Ridgely Drive. Is there a Gary in the house? Sorry, Gary. Pronounce your name for me, will you? Thank you, Gary.
I'm Gary Carver, and I am a proponent of the Limited Immunity Initiative that was passed last year. There is nothing that I could say that haven't been said before, but I urge you to consider the original initiative that was set forth last year by the UFCW, because it has the best compromise for the needs of myself and the needs of the neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Now, follow the close, the pride of Lenox, California, Arnold Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. What's fascinating about this discussion is the previous discussion. I believe Councilman Labange, you mentioned when you were talking about the initiative with this feed-in tariff program for solar energy that Nick Patsouris had asked about a ratepayer advocate when he was DWP commissioner. You didn't clarify what year that was in. So I imagine it was like 2006, maybe, 2000 prior. So let's say 2004. So 8 years, and you're still talking about a DWP and a ratepayer advocate for 2 years. The process here, 6 years for a medical marijuana process when you don't address the federal laws that still make it illegal. Have you talked to the federal advocates that you have paid for in Washington to try and get that changed? Because this article in the LA Times, until we change the federal law, we're breaking the law. And if the federal government decides to come down on the landlords of the places that open up with medical marijuana shops and require them to close up shop or face prosecution, what happens then? You already seen, judged by the City Hall's action and what they said today, 8 to 10 years for solar panel program, minimum. And that was including an item that was on a ballot measure that was defeated by DWP. So you have Swiss cheese working here with this initiative.
Thank you very much. That completes the speakers' cards at this time. No speakers on the queue.
Excuse me, Mr. President. For item 28, a motion is required.
A motion.
Mr. President?
Mr. Koretz? Yeah, Mr. Weezer?
Do I look like Mr. Koretz, Mr. President?
No, you don't. You're,
I'm just wondering. Sometimes we do. I've been told like I look like other Latino council members here. That was a surprise to me.
Right.
Mr. President, you're taking all of these together? Because I would like to be recorded yes on to note and file 22, 23, but a no on 28 and 29 if you're taking them all together. Otherwise, if you take separately, I'll vote accordingly.
They have to be taken separately by words of our fine, distinguished city attorney. Separately.
Okay.
All right, so there's no speakers here except Mr. Weezer. Now Mr. Koretz.
Yes, I'd like to move item 29 as is and item 28 option B.
We're going to vote them all separately, Paul.
Okay, well, why don't we, I'll start then with a motion to approve 29.
Second it. All right, thank you. No speaker. Mr. Rosendahl. Sorry, Mr. Rosendahl. Mr. Rosendahl.
That's okay, Mr. President.
All right, that's all right.
Second, a motion that Mr. Koretz put up, obviously for 29. I'm just curious, what are our procedures here?
City attorney.
Take us through the steps.
Kenny, will you check the mic, please?
Harith Trivedi from the City Attorney's Office. What you have before you today are two separate initiatives that have been certified sufficient by the City Clerk and are now presented to you for action. Item 29, since the motion most recently made was about item 29, is an initiative that both of them pertain to medical marijuana regulation. Item 29 is an initiative that would regulate in various ways medical marijuana and also increase the tax rate from $50 to $60 on collectives. The only option really for the council and the city on item 29 is to put that measure on the ballot because it is amending a previous measure adopted by the voters and also increasing taxes. Item 28 is the other initiative that's before you today, and that's item 28, and you have two options there, option A and option B.
John.
Option A is to adopt the initiative ordinance outright, and option B is to place it before the voters.
Yes.
Both matters would go on the May 2013 city ballot.
Thank you. Mr. Zine, the 3rd District.
You said increasing taxes. What you meant to say is taxation of those establishments dealing with the distribution of medical marijuana?
There is an existing $50 per $1,000 of gross receipts tax on those collectors, and this would increase, the second initiative would increase it to $60.
Okay, this is only for those specific locations?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, no other speakers on the queue. We're going to go, Madam Clerk, to 29.
Yes, Mr. President, that's what's before this council is item 29 for vote.
29 for a vote. All right, to put on the ballot. There's no speakers on the queue. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
8 ayes, 4 noes.
Okay.
That ordinance will be held over 1 week for second reading.
And the next item, Madam Clerk?
Item 28, there's a motion by Mr. Koretz. Is there a second to Mr. Koretz's motion for option B?
I think Mr. Reyes seconded it.
So what's before council to vote is...
Mr. Reyes, you want to speak? Mr. Reyes? Oh, no, he seconded it. All right, no speakers on the queue. Mr. Alarcon.
Councilmember, I just want to say that I think it's good that we are holding these over, so I appreciate those who voted no on the first item, only because I would like to see the third alternative that is being worked on, and this extra week may give us the opportunity to see that third alternative before we make a final vote.
Thank you, Mr. Alarcon. We have the city clerk coming to the table. Do you want to add anything, Madam Clerk?
Just an item of procedure. 28 has a inherent deadline in it. The council must either adopt the ordinance without alteration or place it on the ballot no later than tomorrow.
On 28. Thank you. You have a question, Mr. Alarcon? No. Okay. Thank you. No speakers on the queue. They're going to arrest us. Madam Clerk? Mr. City Attorney, you're okay? All right, let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
8 ayes, 4 noes.
Okay, 8 ayes, 4
That
noes.
ordinance does not pass, Mr. President. It would need to be held over for a second reading.
Got it. And just a technical question, Mr. City Attorney. Go ahead.
Under the election code, the 8 votes on the first reading, although it's not sufficient to pass the ordinance. Oh, go ahead. I'm going to have clarification.
Refer to your colleague. Thank you.
The city election code provides that first
And
reading...
identify yourself for the
Harith
record.
Trivedi from the City Attorney's
Thank
Office
you.
again. For purposes of meeting election code deadlines, having 8 votes received on first reading is sufficient to meet the deadlines. Only 8 votes is required to place this matter on the ballot as well. So,
Very good. So that's clearer.
yes.
We still need a second, though.
I want to take back my speech.
So, Mr. City Attorney, I need more of your voice there, please, on the clarification.
I believe there was a vote, and it was 8-4 on option B, and therefore the matter has been voted upon. Right?
Has been voted on, so it's passed.
Yeah.
It passed.
Point of order, is that an exception to our usual rule on ordinances?
Well, no, if you talk to the city attorney, he'll clarify it.
No,
is that an exception? It's not. Is it an exception?
It's not an exception. It's just a provision in the election code about meeting deadlines for placing it on the ballot. So as any ordinance, if there is not unanimous 12 votes, it carries over to second reading, and this one would as well. So this comes back in a week. The deadlines have been met in order to place it on the ballot in May.
So we don't have to worry about what the city clerk said. It's not tomorrow. It will be in a week. Thank you very much. And Mr. City Attorney, do you have anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay, so that cleared that item. Thank you. Mr. Zine, did you punch your button again? No, you're busy working at your desk as always. Thank you. We'll pass on it. Thank you. Okay, so next item.
Mr. President, there's a request to receive and file items 22 and 23.
So ordered.
That will be done without objection.
Thank you. Next item.
That takes council to general public comment.
General public comment. Arnold Sachs. Is Arnold still here? Arnold Sachs, you got a running start right up to the top here. Donna Perriman. John Walsh. Come on, Arnold, you got called first. Donna, you come up first. You're always right up on top. Then you come up, Arnold. Those are the three. Thank you, Donna.
I'm sorry that Eric Garcetti couldn't hear my comments coming up. Anyway, Miriam is still on Shiva, and would love to be able to do an adjournment for her father. I'm hoping you'll allow her. And when she comes back, I hope you would allow it when she comes back to be able to speak that, because you can't speak it under 2 minutes, or we'll find a council member who will do that, hopefully Councilman Rosendahl. Anyway, I saw our mayor candidacy in the Valley. They all did well. They said they care for the Valley, yet video conferencing is still not on. It should be done now, not when we get a new mayor. The city council has control over video conferencing. The city council has control of the video conferencing, not the mayor. He or she can only fund it. Let's show you care of the Valley, Councilman Garcetti and Councilwoman Jan Perry, who will open it. That will make a big difference. I mean, I'm leaning now toward Eric Garcetti. I wish he was here for mayor, who can speak the most articulate to Sacramento and other cities, Washington, D.C., and other cities, and he has acted as mayor. Councilman Garcetti is, if you watch and listen, he listens to the people speaking. He's a straight shooter and will never speak against what he believes in, and if he is against what I believe in. He can converse in fluent Spanish, which is needed, and he voted no for closing the Van Nuys video conferencing, because he was proud of the video conferencing in Van Nuys and San Pedro, and not just speaking downtown. So and last of all, I need to re-speak again. And if people really care about the Valley, this is not something that should just be put on the back burner. This is something that should be done now. We need to reopen Van Nuys video conferencing, because people in the Valley have the right to speak and not have to come all the way downtown.
Thank you, Donna, very much. Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Anybody but Garcetti committee. Incidentally, Garcetti was invited by Barack to the private inauguration party. Antonio was not invited to the private inauguration party. In fact, Antonio will be announcing his run for president. He's already picked his vice president. It's going to be Antonio Villaraigosa and running mate Lance Armstrong for president on the Liars ticket. And now, I want everybody to realize this is no joke what I'm saying. Tomorrow is the mayor's 60th birthday. And he's covered up his birthday. It's not been celebrated in this city since 2009. We will, in fact, have a party right here during public comment. We have at HollywoodHighlands.org have bought a beautiful giant birthday cake. It's already been inscribed. We want the whole world to realize that the mayor is going into his that's his seventh decade, and we've invited Charlie Sheen, and our special guest, Dollhouse Dude, will be cutting the cake. You must come to the mayor's birthday party. It is going to be for everyone. I guarantee a piece of cake for everyone. Now, if we run out of cake, we will continue. It's a two-day 60th birthday party for the mayor. Incidentally, a few months ago, the mayor of New York had his 70th birthday party. It was a huge hit. The mayor himself is trying to cover this up because he has too much vanity to deal with his 60th birthday party. But we will be holding the second half of it the next day at the MTA board meeting in case he doesn't show up for his actual party. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Arnold Sachs. Mr. Arnold Sachs.
Yes, thank you. Good morning again, or good afternoon this time. Arnold Sachs. Again, back to the discussion that held today with the ratepayer advocate. And Councilman Alarcon, I appreciate your comments regarding the DWP transfer of $250 million. But you were wrong. I think I bring that up every year, more than once, regarding the transfers. And now the DWP transfer for this year is about $242 million. So the transfers have been going down while the DWP revenue has been going up. Now, we've heard some comments about mayoral candidates. Remember, this council is filled with candidates who mostly are running on their third term because they got people to vote to change the term limitations from 2 to 3 terms with the promise that we are more ethical, more open, and more transparent. So you need to ask yourself, in the 4 years since this third term was included, are you better off or are you worse off? Do you think these candidates have stood up to that 4-year promise? Think about this. Think about Measure R. The fact that not one council person got up to say, how do you expect to get $1 billion a year for construction when you're at a level of $600 million in revenue from Props A and Prop C, each a half-cent sales tax? And remember that when they ask for that half-cent sales tax increase, know that the city is
Thank
collecting
you very much, Mr.
$600 million from
Donald
Props
Dude,
A,
Don House Dude.
Well, every time I come here, I hear millions and billions, pretty soon trillions of dollars being thrown around, and everybody's homeless. Everybody's a slave to a little system that got started with the Romans. You know? You gotta go to the next city to register. You gotta go to all this bureaucracy. Is so useless. It's killed so many people throughout the world. And when somebody comes and tells you it would be better for humans to be good to one another, no, you make the penalties even bigger for everything. That means people that would normally be able to pay the rent get thrown out because they don't have enough money to pay your tickets or whatever the way you run things. It is time to change we do business. See, Dollhouse Dude, I'm wearing a stupid house. I slept on this house last night in the bushes in Santa Monica. It is cold over there, but I can handle it. Several people have died from the weather because they didn't know how to handle it. Some of them were probably stupefied by alcohol. And here you are worrying about marijuana. See how you can get more revenue. Why don't you worry about a program where everybody gets a home and nobody's able to lose it for any reason? It is very doable. Stop being stupable.
Next speaker, Eric Perez, is that correct? Sorry, Eric.
No worries, Mr. Labange. It's Eric Previn, a resident of Studio City, California, and Mr. Krikorian is my guy. I'd asked to speak to him directly on this matter that I'm about to address the council, and he was otherwise engaged. But the issue has to do with the appointment of Aaron Pack to the Ethics Commission. As you know, Herb Wesson made that appointment in December, and through some city machinations, it happened very quickly so that various deputies of this body didn't even know that it had been fully approved. We were expecting it to come back in February so that there could be a proper vetting. Now, obviously, upstairs in the Ethics Commission, Heather Holt and her team did some diligence. Unfortunately, they left out great gobs of information about fundraising. I was hoping, I saw that Mr. Garcetti was here earlier today, but then he's out. Even he has received donations from Chris Pack and from Aaron Pack, who are these are major fundraisers. So The question is, what can we do here in this body? All of you have a vested interest in the Ethics Commission being a functional and meaningful oversight committee or commission. And the problem is this makes it seem like it's kind of a paper tiger. If we are going to put fundraisers who have curried favor with various politicians on that very board, it makes absolutely no sense. And frankly, it's inappropriate. And I've asked Mr. Wesson, who was very kind to give me a few minutes, and his arguments are that she's a nice woman, which nobody is disputing, but she's not a law enforcement official or somebody with legal training that would give her the kinds of eyeballs we want looking at some of these lobbyist issues, some of these campaign finance issues. And it's really disturbing because I brought it to your attention, all of you, and everybody seems to be shrugging. Mr. Zine, I mean, I asked as nicely as I could to really take a look at this. There was no hearing properly. She sat here, we complied with the Brown Act, but we barely, it was not addressed. There was no debate, and it was done in a sneaky way. It doesn't feel right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Harriet Elliott. Harriet Elliott.
I came to here 2 months ago to speak about my son who died 20 years ago in 3 months. I believe my son was killed because he was a political activist. I'm sad to see Councilmember Wesson gone because I need Councilmember Wesson to put pressure on the LAPD to release my son's files. My private investigator wants to question witnesses. We feel that we can offer immunity to some of these people so that they can be honest. I'm not looking for money at all. It's not a question of money. It's not a question of anything like that. It's not a trial. It's just to find the truth. I need, the problem is the LAPD are not forthcoming. Here, my private investigator got this death report released, a death investigation, but it's like really sparse, almost nothing in there, and it's kind of ridiculous. If you show it to people, they said, well, this is not the way it's supposed to be, and I kind of know that. Do you know Captain Horace Frank told me that if a death has occurred, that he doesn't keep records longer than 10 years. Well, that's not true. Cold case files, which is in the LAPD Discovery Unit above the old Carl's Jr. across the street in the mall right here, they actually keep those cold case files forever. Okay, they're unresolved murders. Now, all we want is the police to please give us the whole thing so we can question witnesses. How can I get this done? Now, I actually met with Wesson's deputy, and what he did is he left it on my machine just this week saying, as if it's a solution, it is still an open file. That's not a solution.
The Deputy Chief of Staff for Mr. Wesson, Mr. Westfall, is right here.
Oh, good.
He'll meet you at the ropes. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. I know Mr. Wesson's very concerned about that, as we all share that. Next, Mr. Cooper. Mr. Cooper here. Mr. Cooper, calling Mr. Cooper. Thank you very much, Mr. Cooper. Thank you, Jeffrey Allen Solomon. Jeffrey Allen Solomon.
Thank you very much for calling on me. As I see, when you have enough people to a quorum, then everybody can leave. So there's about, 6 of you that I can speak to, but it's okay. I'm from Venice Beach, California. Been there 33 years, and everything loose rolls west. And what I mean by that is that we need some help with those that rolled west. As you know, when we took an attendance, when all the county, city, and employees took how many homeless people there were in Los Angeles County, there were over 70,000 people. Well, now, as all these people have rolled there, they need help. And here's the help. Right now, in this season, as you know, the police are moved around according to what's necessary. Well, this is considered to be the winter, although you can see that I'm getting a little sunshine. And during the winter, they take most of the police away and move them to other areas. We need some assistance from the police, number one. Number two, we have less than 100 501c3s in Venice, and many of them are working to help them, but they don't have any funding. I know you can't give any funding to them, but that's okay. What's not okay is that we need the help of every department in Los Angeles. We need psychological help. We need food. By the way, Whole Foods every Sunday was giving food, great food to the homeless people. But the manager of that one stopped it, and therefore the person that directs all that, she now joined the Venice Chamber of Commerce, of which I've been on the board for 20 years, and she is now helping all the 501c3s, okay, and I am helping many of them also. The only way that we can continue to do this is to have Los Angeles City support. Now, this is the city of angels, and I always thought of you guys to be the angels. Bill Rosendahl is a very close friend of mine. Thank you.
And thank you very much. His office on the 4th floor, and I appreciate that if you want to continue a conversation with Steph. Thank you. 4:15, Mr. Solomon. Thank you so much. No other public comment cards. So, Madam Clerk.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
So ordered.
That clears the desk.
Any announcements?
Adjourning motion.
No announcements. Any adjourning motions? Adjourning motions, Mr. Zine. Let's all rise, please, to recognize those who went before us in this adjourning motion.
Thank you.
Mr. Zine.
I have two adjourning motions. First is Elizabeth Matson, passed away December 5th, born in Canton, Ohio, met and married Mr. Herb Matson in Chicago, stayed together for 64 beautiful years. First visited Los Angeles when Herb was stationed in the Nevada during World War II, fell in love, decided to move here in 1964, first moved to Hollywood, then Van Nuys, and finally settled in Woodland Hills. She passed away of lung cancer at the age of 83, survived by her husband Herb, who's a personal friend, his son Robert, daughters Rhonda and Lean. May she rest in peace, Elizabeth Matson from Woodland Hills. The next adjourning motion I have is Alice Beth Childs, a wonderful lady who I've known for a number of years, and her information, Mr. President, died peacefully January 10th with family by her side, born September 27th, 1924 in Oklahoma to Derek Taylor Wells and Bessie Powers Wells, the youngest of 4 children, the only daughter. Before her first birthday, the family moved to Sioux City, Iowa, graduated from high school in Sioux City, attended Secretarial School in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Met and married her husband, Thomas Elbert Childs, on September 1st, 1943, during the middle of World War II, as he was in the Navy stationed on the USS WASP. For the next 2 years, she waited patiently for his return. After his return, they resided in Colgate, Oklahoma for a year and helped on family cattle ranch. After their second child, Suzanne, was born, moved to Reseda, California, and traded the winters of Iowa for the sun of Southern California. Alice Bess, affectionately known, remained in California until 2008, when she came to Idaho Falls to live with her daughter and son-in-law. Alice Bess loved being a wife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, proud to answer to Nana, to any child who called out to her. She was a faithful member of the Episcopal Church, a proud member of the Republican Women's Club, and offered a warm, caring heart to all who needed her help. Enjoyed camping, fishing with her family and friends. She had a green thumb and raised beautiful orchids at her home. Loved to put on parties and receptions and always had an open and welcome home. She and her husband Tom enjoyed collecting and restoring antiques, and especially enjoyed traveling around in their Model T Ford. Preceded in death by her loving husband Tom, survived by son Thomas, a number of other relatives. Funeral services were held on the 19th at St. Martin in the Fields Episcopal Church in Winnetka. Interment was at Oakwood Memorial Park in Chatsworth. Donations can be made in her name to St. Martin's Memorial Fund or to your local Alzheimer's support group. The family would like to thank the community for supporting her for all these years. A very, very nice lady who I've known personally, Alice Bess Childs. May she rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Any other adjourning motions at this time? Seeing none, let's go on and remember those who went before us. Have a great day, and God bless the city of Los Angeles. Thank you very much. This meeting's over.